You can call the meeting of the West Warwick Pension Board in session on January 13th, 2020 at 19:02 hours. First order is prayer. Dear Lord, look over our service personnel wherever they be serving, over our retired members where they are in their good health. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Albert Hero.
Here.
Colleen Tay.
Here.
Ralph Salmanese.
Here.
Michelle Labarde.
Here.
Okay. Next item is E, review and approval of prior minutes, meeting minutes.
Microphone on so we can hear.
Is it working?
You're on. You're talking.
Review and approval of prior minutes meetings.
That microphone is not on, I'm sorry.
This one.
Review and approval of prior minute meetings. Anyone have any discussion on what you see for last month?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from the meeting on Monday, December 30th.
Second that motion.
Motion made and seconded, to approve the minutes of the prior minutes meetings. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Can I make a suggestion a minute? Pull the microphones closer, because it's not coming over. I know they're on, because I heard you scratch it. Everybody, please.
Item F, review of Rockland Clearbrook monthly expenses and portfolio status for the previous month. All we have that came in as of start of the meeting is Clearbrook. And this is as of December 31st, 2019. West Warwick total plan market value is $372,420. Total equity of that is $22,160,307. Total fixed income is $9,690,047. Total on the alternatives is $7,439,675. Total cash on hand is $4,082,391. For the fiscal year to date, this will be for 2019, shows a 18.3% increase from the beginning of the year. Any questions or discussion?
No.
Hearing none. Okay, the next item. G, discussion and action regarding payments of bills. First one is Olin and Pezza. File number MBF 7372 from November of 2019, $1,564. Any discussion?
Motion to approve.
I second the motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve item G1 for Olin and Penza, $1,564. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G2, Nyhart Company.
I'd like to make a note on item G2 invoice 0155500. The number, the hours that are written on the agenda are incorrect. The hours that are written on the invoice is 3210. The hours on the agenda are 1490. I thought that that amount was a little bit high for 14.
I missed the 17.
Yeah, I thought that amount was a little high for 15 hours worth of work, so I double checked. So 3210 is the correct number of hours.
Okay, thank you.
32.10?
Yes, 32.10. So, for $9,730.
Any other discussion or comments?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve then, item,
He made that
oh,
already.
he did?
Yeah.
Okay,
Second.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve item G2 for Nyhart, number 1, invoice 155500, the amount of $9,730 with a correction to 32.10 hours. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item H, discussion action regarding applications received. We have one from Darren Burley, July 4th, 2020. This is just to receive his
Yes.
application.
Well, we have it in here. Okay, make a motion to receive the application from Mr. Darren Burley.
I second the motion to receive.
Motion made and seconded to receive the application from Darren Burley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item I, discussion action regarding return of contributions. Jason Jenkins,
Okay.
the Civic Center, the amount is $2,835.53.
The amount's been verified and Mr. Jenks has approved it, so I make a motion that we accept this return of contributions and issue it.
I second the motion.
Motion made and seconded to approve the return of contributions for Jason Jenkins in the amount of $2,835.52. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion action regarding calculations of non-union COLAs. I had a meeting with the town manager, and the one individual that we discussed, and there was a couple others that either have fallen in the past, since there was no language or nothing in writing as to what they will get, no contract, it was decided that we'd come back and research the different documents that we have and see which one the individual will fall under, and then bring that back to the board for a vote as to what we're going to give the individual for his benefits.
Okay,
It's basically figure out what we're going to do for COLA.
okay.
Any discussion?
Table it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna table it
Till we get,
till the next meeting and we get the
yeah,
information,
we've got to
okay?
do some research, right. Any other discussion? Hearing none? Motion to table till next meeting?
Second the motion. To table.
Second the motion.
I make a motion to table till the next meeting.
Okay,
Michelle seconded.
yeah. Motion made and seconded to table item J until next meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item L, discussion and action regarding mirrors. Again, had a meeting with the town manager.
Okay.
Kip K,
Okay. Sorry about that. Item K, discussion action regarding opt-out for police and fire and disability consent judgment. Had a meeting with the town manager on that, a discussion with the town council president on that, and some questions that had, and got no answer, said they were good questions, didn't have an answer. Was suggested that I go to the town solicitor to get his legal opinion as to the answers to those questions, so then we could have a
thank you.
the guideline for actions and where to go from there. I have sent email to the town solicitor, Mr. Williamson, and as of this date, have not had an answer back to the list of questions that I gave him.
Al, do you remember when you sent that email? Was it around just, around January 5th?
It was one day last week. I don't remember exactly. I can look at it if you need.
Okay,
Can I ask
so
why you
week
don't
of,
ask this lawyer right here that we pay for every meeting?
Because the actions that the questions we have to talk about was people that fall under the council or under the town's personnel. It had nothing to do with us. We couldn't answer those questions as far as the manager or the finance person.
Why do we pay her then every month? She's representing your board.
That's right. But the items, sir, had to do with personnel in the town, that's under the town council's oversight. So the questions that came up is legal questions, and the answers have to come from the council or the solicitor. In this case, they both referred me to the solicitor.
Chairman, is that gonna cost the pension board any money? To ask him the questions?
No.
Or is the town gonna cover that since the town council?
I do not know the answer, but I wouldn't think so, for the simple fact that the council and the managers the one who told me to go see him.
Is it the right time now to discuss that, or do you want me to wait till public comment? Your choice.
If you want to go into details on it, there's really nothing to discuss until we get an answer from the solicitor. We've done what we can.
I want to argue that point with you. I believe it is your privy to take action on these individuals.
And we have been working on it, and going through the steps and talking to people and following the guidance and things that we have to do to get answers to our
We're gonna
questions.
talk about it. I'll come up there because I want to be on record. Kevin O'Connell, Chairman of the West Warwick Police and Fire Disability Association. As you all know, this has been going on for over 2 years now. And the people we're talking about are retirees. They're no longer employees of the town. So they fall under your jurisdiction. Because if they're no longer employees, the town council has nothing to do with it. They are retirees as my gentlemen that are part of my organization. If I have a problem, I come to the pension board. I don't go see Mr. Williamson or the town council. Town council made that very clear when I try to bring up an issue to them. They says everything is done through the pension board. They are a autonomous group, and they are the ones who make the decisions. So I brought this to your attention 2 years ago. There were 4 individuals. There may be 6 now that opted out of joining the West Warwick Police and Fire Disability Association. For 18 months, I asked, what benefits were they getting? Nobody would tell me. You know the rigmarole we went through, Al, okay? We all know. And I don't want to rehash that because it just makes me livid. But it is what it is. So now that you know that there's 4 individuals that you admitted that are getting that benefit, you have to take action because the document that when we took away longevity and holiday was started by the West Warwick Pension Board. It wasn't the town council that took away our longevity and holiday pay. It was the West Warwick Pension Board who was conducting an investigation. And as to this day, they haven't completed that investigation because I have never reached a resolution as to what your final decision was. Some of us settled through court, but some of them didn't. Those poor individuals that didn't join are still out there in limbo, wondering what in the heck is happening to me. Met with a couple of them. They says, we're getting your benefit that you went to court and got in front of a judge, signed the document. You all have it in our files. Those particular individuals didn't go to court, but somehow either the pension board and the town couldn't give them the benefit because the pension board has the authority and only authority to issue pension benefits. So these individuals came to me and said, I'm getting your benefit under the MOU, but I'm not even getting all of it, I don't believe. So that's your privy. That's not the town council. You can't just keep on wishy-washing and throwing it to the council, then they're going to throw it back to you. You have to make a decision on this and what you're going to do with those 4 individuals. It's not the town's problem. It's your problem. And we've been going over this for 2 years. It took you less than 4 months to investigate Mrs. Kelsey and whether she was going to get a 2% COLA. You voted on it, you denied her. You've had 2 years to look at these individuals that didn't go to court. You know they didn't go to court. Everybody's admitted they didn't go to court. And they're getting the benefit. It's your job. It's a tough job, but you got to make a decision what you're going to do with these individuals. You have to. It's your job. You just can't sit there and say, oh, we're going to throw it back to the town council. We had a conversation. They won't get back to us. That's what we did before. You said you emailed the town council religiously every month, and Kevin O'Connell came back up here and asked you how you're making out with the town council and the town manager, and everybody says, they won't email us. Town council won't email us. We never had a meeting with them. Come to find out, you did have a meeting with them, and you told me you didn't. The town manager admitted that he had a meeting with you. I don't know why you would lie to me. I'm not a bad person. Yeah, I get hot sometimes, but the only reason why I get hot is because when I'm being stonewalled. And right now I'm being stonewalled for 2 years. It's your job. David Goslin, the town council president, has said it's your job. Nobody can deny benefits or give benefits other than the West Warwick Pension Board. That's what I've been told. That's what everybody's been telling me for the past 2 years, or for the past 20 years. It's your job to approve or deny benefits. It says it right here in the pension board. The pension board may undertake any action to deny benefits, even prospectively, and prior to any application to any employee or former employee pursuant to this section. Then it even goes further. Notwithstanding anyone elsewhere of the contrary, if any person is denied benefits under the plan, the pension board shall notify each claimant at the decision in writing, given the reason for each decision and advising the claimant of his and her right, request a hearing before the full pension board. Such request must be made in writing to the pension board within 60 days after the notice. So it's your job. It says it right here in the pension board. You do the benefits. Nobody else's job. So you can't throw it back to them. You've got to take a stand. That's what you make the big bucks for. And you know I'm being facetious, right?
Yeah.
And I do. And I'm not here to say I rag on you people all the time. I ask hard questions, only because these guys deserve answers. Those 4 guys that are left out in limbo deserve an answer. They don't know what they're getting. They're getting some of the MOU, they're not getting the rest of the MOU, I'm getting this, I'm getting that. It's your job to investigate. It's your job to find out. It's your job to find out when they denied these guys benefits or gave them the benefits. Because you're the only people that can give them the benefits.
Well, apparently somebody else did give them the benefits.
They can't.
It wasn't us.
Under the pension, it can't.
There was a lot going down in 2014, so we need to, get some answers on that. So.
In a previous council, a previous meeting, and I don't remember exactly when it was, shortly right after I got on the board, you stated that you knew the board didn't give those individuals their benefits, that was somebody from the town. You had your very consumptions of who it was and what you wanted to say. So I started looking into it. I had one meeting with the manager, and he basically said that he didn't do it, and he don't know what happened about the people before him, so he couldn't speak for them. So kept going back and forth, looking around, wasn't able to get an answer. Only thing I could find out is that this board, or whatever board was on at the time, did not give them any approval or say anything, make any decisions.
Do you recall telling me that you thought NIOT maybe gave them the benefits?
Well, I thought, right, and I've been looking into it in a little bit of time that I have here and there. I've done some research with Tracy and looking back through records and everything, because I don't have privy to the history of what happens in other boards and all of that. So, and it seems like it is done at the town level, not at the pension board level. So I'm trying to nail that down. I'm almost there, okay? I'm waiting now, as I follow the little crumbs that I've been finding, I'm waiting now for, it's got to the point where the solicitor has to answer the question on the actions of the individuals that did what they did. And don't know exactly what it is, because there is nothing in writing. It's all verbal. So once I get an answer from them as to where that stands, because they are representatives of the town. Once I get that
Who is?
answer,
Who is representatives of the town?
the town manager and the finance person, whoever's in charge, they represent the town when they do stuff.
Do what?
Anything
Do
that they-
benefits?
Anything in their job.
I know what their job is, financial, and town manager takes care of the town business. But this is an autonomous body. You told me you're
Hold
an
on, hold on.
autonomous
It's
body.
nothing to do, that was, what I'm looking into, find out, has nothing to do with this body at that time. That's what I'm trying to find out exact. And I'm working my way through the breadcrumbs, lack of a better term. I'm getting there. It takes time. I'm not getting answers. There's not a lot of records and so forth. But once I go through and get the information, then it's gonna come back to here, and then we're gonna do what we have to do. But I need to go through the steps, and I'm following the guidance and everything of everybody.
Are you keeping the whole board advised of the
We
investigation?
did not have a meeting tonight for me to.
No, I'm not saying the one meeting.
No, no.
I mean all the
This-
meetings.
this
This has been
stuff-
going on 2 years. Have you been keeping them all abreast of what
There
your
hasn't been a lot
investigation?
movement in 2 years because I haven't been able to get any answers. Everybody doesn't have any answers. I couldn't get anything.
Well, why
It
don't you?
takes time.
Here's a suggestion on my part. If you're being stonewalled by the town, and you are, from what you're saying, 2 years is a long time.
I wouldn't use
why
that
don't
term.
Why don't you have your attorney sue the town of West Warwick?
Because I don't think we need to spend that kind of money that way. I'm getting stuff. I'm getting better now than I ever was before, but I didn't have any information, so I didn't know where to go. It takes time to look and see what's going on. And as I'm finding out, there's not a lot of records. So I'm getting there.
So
All right.
are you any closer today than 2 years ago when I asked this question as to who gave those 4 individuals those benefits?
Closer, but not to an answer yet, no.
Do you have one person in mind?
No, a few people.
Few people.
But I haven't been able to verify that.
Were they part of the pension board?
No.
Then how could they, that's what I'm telling you, you should sue
I'm
the
working
town.
on that. I don't know those answers. and I'm working
If
on
somebody
those
outside the board, it's just mind-boggling,
answers. Sure it is.
because you're an autonomous group. You have the final say over benefits. You do. You all have the final say. I don't care what the town manager wanted to give these town individuals. I don't care what the town solicitor wanted to give them. I don't care what the town council president wanted to give them. They don't have the authority. And if they overstep their authority to give individuals benefits out of a pension plan that you're only authorized to give benefits, that is almost on the point of illegal.
We know, that's why you've got to be careful.
That's why you have a lawyer.
This is why you have to be careful.
You should
though.
take a vote tonight to have the lawyer stop proceedings against the town of West Warwick. That's the only way you're going to get the true answers.
We're not at that
Because the
point
truth
yet.
will, what, Al, another 2
I'm
years?
not, no. I
Yes,
just told
that's-
you more than once. I have been gotten further now in the last little bit of time that I have been spending on it, getting closer to an answer. We cannot have, even if I have her, we do this tonight and have her, there's no information for her to go on anything. It's gonna take her a lot of hours, a lot of time, and money that we don't need to spend. I'm doing this on my own. I don't get paid here now, and I don't get paid all the hours and nights that I sit here and look through records with Tracy, or
That's
go
why
to
you're sitting
meetings.
there.
Let
That's
me
why you're
finish.
sitting there.
I didn't say I didn't want to. I didn't say I didn't like it, all right? But when going through stuff here during the day or nights, whatever, I'm slowly getting the information. Once I get the information and I get there, then I'll go for it. But right now, I can't make any decisions or to bring the information back for the board to make a decision. I need to get more information.
You're going to go for what? Once you have all this information
have
that
it
you're
all.
looking
I'm
for.
digging.
No, but, okay, when Al Heru conducts his investigation and he's done,
It's not an investigation. I'm just doing research, trying to find documents to back up what you had mentioned to us at a meeting some time back.
no, you admitted to me
Yes.
that you had a meeting with the town manager.
I have.
And you told me that they were getting the benefits of these guys.
That's what I
So now
found
you
out.
have to do an investigation. You don't need to do research because you already know what the investigation
I don't
is.
know who
You know
did it.
4 individuals are getting benefits they're not entitled to.
But I'm trying to find out who gave them that, and that's what's taking time.
If-
It wasn't this board.
If
Or the
anybody,
board that represented at the time.
if anybody gave those individuals benefits out of this pension fund and it didn't go through the pension board, you're in serious trouble.
Sure, I agree with you
You're
on
in
that.
serious trouble.
I agree with you on that, because somebody did something that they weren't
Okay.
supposed to do.
But you just
And if
can't-
that's the case, then we will address it once we prove that.
But do you see how frustrated I am with
Oh, I
this?
understand.
Do you really?
I do.
2 years? 2 years of me bringing this to your attention?
And I'm telling you, there's no documents, there's no information, and talking to people, this one says, like, for instance, I agree, I'll give the manager this, I agree with him, that, like he said, agree that we disagree.
Let me ask you this. Those individuals that got the MOU, are they getting the full aspects of the MOU?
I don't know for sure. I know they're getting.
You
I
have an
don't know-
actuary.
I don't know for sure if they're getting every whatever. I'm working on that.
Wait a
okay?
minute. You have an actuary, you have a secretary who has access to the actuary,
Yeah.
who is a phone call or an email away. Okay, right? Am I wrong in assuming that?
No,
Okay. So you should have at least in front of you, after 2 years, of what those individuals are getting. Are they getting longevity? Are they getting holiday pay? Are they getting the 2% COLA? 3 things. I'm not a mathematician, but I could easily find out. You should have it right in front of you. At least you could say, well, yep, they're getting everything you're getting. But I have the guys who are receiving it calling me, and I can't give them the answers. Isn't that a shame, Al? You should be able to give them the answers, because you know something, they're part of the pension system that you represent.
until we get more information and we can decide what we're gonna do as our next step, I don't wanna go any further with it. I don't know a lot of things, and I don't wanna speak about something I do not know. Until I get more information and bring it back, and then we decide what our next step's gonna be, I don't think there's anything else to do right now except digging. I spent a lot of time doing it, like I said, and I have no problem doing it, but it takes time. It just can't happen overnight.
But you're not an
If you
investigator.
determine that they owe the money, they're gonna have to pay it back, right?
Whatever comes out, that's not right now. Right now, I can't answer that question. I don't know what the outcome is. We haven't got there yet. We don't have all the information.
I am a private investigator. All the money that we spend on this pension board for stupid stuff,
Al, I just think You're stonewalling the inevitable.
I disagree with that term. I disagree with that term.
What do you call it then, 2 years?
I'm telling you,
Not-
I'm doing
no-
the best I can do
No
at it.
facts?
I don't get a lot of help. I'm basically on my own. I get a little bit of help from some people, but not a lot, okay? It takes time, and when you don't get answers, it takes time no longer. I'll use you as an example, as you so well talk to the council and read it all the time. When you start investigating a crime, all right, and you don't get answers, you have to keep looking. Sometimes the answers aren't there, and you've got to look and look and look, and it may take a while, all right?
Yeah, go to the state police. There you go.
They'll straighten you out.
There you go.
They'll straighten it out.
Impartial body.
And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about getting information. Doesn't matter who's looking for the information.
It
If
does,
doesn't-
because you're not being impartial. You're part of the pension system. You have to need somebody impartial to do an investigation. Because some of those individuals that are collecting that benefit or is not collecting are retired firemen.
Yeah,
Some are police, some are firemen.
Yeah.
So you can't be impartial being, and it says there, you got to recuse yourself because you're a fireman and you're looking out for benefits for another fireman. That almost excludes you. So yeah, I agree with Brian that you should maybe go to the state police and ask them for their assistance, the Financial Crimes Unit. And they probably can dig through files and get people in to testify as to who in God's name gave these people benefits, not only under the pension plan, under a court, a superior court MOU, signed by every individual here. Every one of my guys had to sign that, or they couldn't get that benefit. Impossible to get that benefit. Impossible, because they had to go in front of a judge in Superior Court, Judge Rubine, and sign it and say, you're giving up certain benefits under the pension plan to get certain benefits for you and your spouses. They signed it. With a lot of heartache from me, because I sold them a pack of false goods, come to find out. I didn't do them justice, and I apologize to them. But with that, I found an inequity in that when I knew those guys didn't join. And I says, well, I hope they're not getting the benefits, because these guys had to pay $30-some thousand. It doesn't seem like a lot of money, but to retired firemen and policemen that are living on a disability pension, that's a lot of money. Okay? And I used to have to go to them every month and I need $100 to pay for the lawyers. $100. $37,000 later, and we're no closer than we were back when you took the longevity and holiday paper away. And that's another thing you could investigate. What is the status of the 2011 Pension Board decision to take away holiday and longevity? We never got a conclusion on that. It's still out in the air. They said, further investigation, we'll let you know if we're going to take more away from you.
let's stay on one subject for now, okay?
Well, I don't think we can right now, because we're in a crisis situation.
You're up here talking about this item on the agenda. If we start talking about something that's
Okay,
not on the
I'll
agenda.
bring it up to public comment after. But I hate to waste your time, but I'm not wasting your time. You see how many people are here tonight? You see? Because their lives are affected. Their spouses' lives are going to be affected. They have a big, big concern with this pension board. Because now they're hearing, you're doing an investigation, and
First of all-
let's not call it an investigation, let's call it fact-finding.
Okay.
For 2 years, do you think I can go back to this body and tell them that I have confidence in the pension board after 2 years? It's not going to be another 2 years till they get the information? Because you're not going to get the information, because nobody wants to admit to it. Nobody wants to admit to it, because there can be no benefits given through this pension other than you. And if somebody did it, we'll see.
Can I make a
So,
comment?
let's go to the state police.
I would like to make a comment.
Sure, go ahead.
So I think that you people deserve to know what they're getting for benefits. So I'm going to ask that if we can get the information and present it to you, you should have a right to know if they're getting the longevity, the holiday, or the 2%. I mean, I don't know if that's information we can release.
Public information.
I would like them to have that information, because it's a question on all of their minds as to who's getting what. So if we have it, it comes out of their fund, they should get it, be able to get it. And also, this being dragged out by people that are not qualified to process information, it's not right. And it's costing the board money to give these people those benefits that perhaps they're not even entitled to. So there's a cost factor there. So we can't just wait another 2.5 years, do nothing until something potentially pops up for us to find, because we may not find anything. We may have the same findings in 2.5 years, and these people have gotten the benefits. So I'm gonna ask that it be a priority to either take it to the state police or attorney general or whoever needs to deal with what was done incorrectly and get rectified, or if it needs to be stopped or whatever. That's my personal feeling about the way things were handled. So I am in full support of getting answers in a timely manner, not another 2.5 years.
Can you have something for us by next meeting? Something to report on your findings?
I'm not, I don't know if it's something I can do, or is it something
Can I ask
Tracy can do?
Can I
or-
ask the secretary a question? Is it allowed? Sure. Tracy, how long would it take you to get the information from NIAT for those 4 individuals?
The information.
Correct.
from NIHOP.
Correct.
You know that.
I know.
It's been said in the meeting, and I don't understand why this keeps going on.
Exactly.
I'm being honest, on all ends, so that's all I have to say.
So you have the information.
We know how it was calculated.
Where is it?
Thank you.
The board don't have it.
Diane Kelsey, 143 Burlingame, and I have one question, and Tracy's close to the answer. Who was your actuary when the MOU was completed? Was it Nyhart?
That's- yeah.
It was Nyhart. That's one phone call, Al. Perhaps you could direct your secretary to call, because I've been sitting meeting after meeting, and as Kevin said, and rightly so, whoever is to get a pension, it's to be voted on here. Tracy confirms the amounts with the actuary. All of you vote on it, so that's one phone call. Sounds like she already has the information. So Nyhart, I'm sure, as an actuary, does not want to be sued. So they're going to provide the information as to who authorized the payment for those 4 or 6 individuals. She might even have that information tonight. So that's one phone call. That means by next meeting, you'll have the information. I don't see why you wouldn't. You don't have to go anywhere else. And if it comes to find out that this whole board was bypassed to allow benefits to individuals, and someone else, other than a board, and none of you were here at the time, authorized whoever the board was at the time, if they did not vote on it, then you had a real problem and you have to go to the state police, because an investigation has to happen immediately. 2.5 years is not acceptable. So if she has the information, we'd all love to hear it, but that's one phone call. Nyhart is your actuary. They have who authorized it, because they can't do anything on their own. They have to have an approval, and by whom? I'm sure they don't want to be sued, so they have the information. So if it wasn't by a board member, okay, who in the town gave them that information to say, yes, pay these individuals this amount of money? Am I wrong? Perhaps you need to investigate that. That's one phone call. That's all I'm asking, because they have the information. They will not issue a check without an authorization. So that needs to happen immediately. And there, you don't have to do any more crumbs, and I'm not trying to make light of that. But that's one phone call, and you'll have your information immediately. Who authorized it? Any member of the Westwark Pension Board at the time? Or who was it? And they're going to give you that because they don't want to be sued. Thank you.
You will. Any other discussion?
Why doesn't she go upstairs and get the information unless you have it in front of you and you just don't wanna bring it up?
It's not that simple.
Not that
As
simple, it's
Tracy
just
has
tell you how
stated,
simple it is.
she's already talked about this and gave that information many meetings back, long before I even got on.
She hasn't given nothing. Says she's got the information.
No, we got the calculations on how they were calculated from NIHOC.
Yeah.
Way back
Yeah.
when. And it
Have
was
you ever
said
given them to
there.
me, Trace?
Huh?
Have you ever given me the calculations?
I honestly don't remember.
I wouldn't.
Huh? You
I wouldn't
remember?
I wouldn't
I
remember
don't
if I had.
remember. We talked about it at a meeting, that
We
we
talked
found
about
out
it.
how they would calculate it.
Correct.
That information
We don't
we
have it.
had. Anymore, who authorized, not 100% sure on
Right.
that. But how, what the calculations, the paperwork, we've met.
Hi, Paul Villa, 15 Janet Drive. I am not, though I'm not a member of the Police and Fire Disabilities Retirees Association, I am a normal retiree from the town. And there's two issues here. One, she says she has the calculations from NIHOC. The simple question is, and I don't think you know, correct me if I'm wrong, are they getting the same benefit as these disability retirees that are getting under the MOU? That should be a simple question. That, regardless of who did it, you should be able to just tell by the bottom line, and I believe Tracy probably has the figures, because she said she already got them. It's very simple to find out if these 4, 6, whatever individuals are getting their benefits. Correct? Okay. I'm not getting any answers here, but the point is, the other thing you have to look at the longer this goes on, and the longer these things drag on, whether it's this or anything else, the shadier things look. All right, somebody made an honest mistake 2 years ago, and came to this microphone and said, you know what, my bad, I made a mistake, I sent the wrong paperwork over, I'll correct it, all right? There's not gonna be any of this, all right? When it goes on for 2 years and we can't get any answers, that's when you're into this situation, and you're in a thankless job, I get it, okay? I'm just telling you that nobody here is responsible for it, but somebody sent figures to NIHOC to get the benefit calculation. And if they didn't pay their $100 a month to pay for the lawyers, and they're not entitled to it, somebody gave them the wrong numbers. And it's very simple to find out if they're getting those benefits, very simple, okay? And the other thing you have to look at as well is for those 4 or 6 individuals who have been getting these benefits for how long now?
5 years.
5 years. They're gonna have to pay them back, all right? And the longer this goes on, the more money they're gonna have to pay. So it's not fair, because they're gonna have to come up with some monthly calculation and take that out of their pension check to pay back all this money they're not supposed to be getting. So I think if we can start out with just a simple, are they getting the benefit? At least these people will know if they're getting the benefit or not. Then who's to blame will have to be figured out later. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I have a question.
Come up to the mic, please.
This is my first time here, but listening as
Okay.
a novice.
Ma'am, could you state your name and address?
Oh, my name is Ian Osenkowski. I'm married to Ronald Osenkowski.
Okay.
So being here as a novice, I'm kind of scratching my head how there can be no records of the monies going out to people or being taken from people. My question is, how do you allow that to happen? And what is wrong with the system that someone does that? I would think you would all be up in arms, because if it is your responsibility to give and take monies from people, this is an insult to your character. I would be up in arms if I was you, to find out who did the crime, actually. It looks to me like something criminal is going on. I don't know much, but how does that happen? That's my question. How are there no records?
All good questions, and a lot of questions that I've already asked myself, more than once, following the people, no, you need to go see this individual, and I'm working my way at it. It's more frustrating for me than Mr. O'Connor or anyone else, because sometimes I get no answers. But it doesn't stop me and doesn't deter me. I keep going, okay?
Even if it was a previous pension board, you guys should have all the information with whatever went on with monies
There
from
is
the
no-
prior pension board.
There is nothing that I can find so far that this, first of all, that this board did anything, and we're working on trying to find out how it's initiated and what was initiated, and then where that stands as far as what this board can do next. But until we get some answers, if we just act and say, we're gonna just do this, and we don't have a leg to stand on, then we got an issue. So,
Well, you might
I
be-
wish it could happen faster, and a lot of this was before I'm on, so I don't have a lot of history, and that takes a little bit of time too. And believe me, I don't like having to sit here and listen to this, all right?
Well,
Especially
you
when
know
I
what-
know how many hours that's already been done to trying to get the answers. Do I have all the answers? No. Do I have some? Yes. I chose to try and wait and get everything together and then give a report as to what happened and what we're gonna do next as a board.
Okay,
But
so
if you wanna give it in piecemeal, I don't think that's a good idea.
May I just say, if in the event you cannot move in a speedy manner, you might want to consider getting some help from, someone suggested, the detectives of the police department, someone. State police. Get some help to speed things along. That's all I'm saying, because you're all smart people, but something doesn't sound right about this. So, thank you for listening to me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Norman Londrich, 88 Silverwood Lane. I'm the vice president now of the retired police and fire, on normal retirement guys. I'll speak to this issue a little just because Kevin hit on a few things. So first of all, personally, I'm a little fearful of a state police and looking into anything like that. But however, understanding the years it may have been to get this certain information, the one constant in all our negotiations have been the lawyers, okay? So Kevin's group was represented, my group was represented, the town was represented by Bill Dolan. We all appeared in Superior Court and we certified our classes. These are court records, okay? This isn't an investigation. All due respect, Chair, I don't know really what you're doing for an investigation. I may not agree of administrative expenses and legal expenses all the time, no disrespect to you, but she probably could have had this answered 2 years ago of what classes and what people are in certain groups. So I'm gonna speak to that about it's probably a little frustrating. And listen, if it is what it is, just make your decision. If they're gonna have issue with it, they'll have issue with it at that point. But I think it's important to make that decision. I sat on this board before, and if I tell you I made all the right decisions, I'm wrong. I didn't make all the right decisions, but we made them for a reason. There's people out there like the retirees that just want us to take action on something they're asking, okay? And if it is wrong, then it'll take its course. So I think for 2.5 years, it's not the way to go. You pick up the phone, you call Bill Dolan, I get it. Fred Presley's not here, Semino's not around. We have a pending lawsuit that I'm not gonna speak about, because it's a pending lawsuit about our 5-year deal in place. That is our, that we believe we should be getting something from the pension board, but clearly we're not getting that. But we filed a lawsuit. That's how we took that on. But, you know, there needs to be at least some answers, and answers that are forthcoming. I mean, you hate to see the people get frustrated here over something that everyone went to the table, skin came off, and, you know, we were working with the town, and the town's been nothing but good. I know President Gosling's here. We had no issues with our negotiations, but now it's kind of coming off the tracks where, geez, we just need or want answers at this point. Somewhere that 5-year plan got put into place, and the easy reference rewrite of the pension plan should be at the fingertips of the actuaries, we should have all our answers by now. And if they're the wrong answers, we'll deal with them. We'll deal with them.
Norman, I agree with you on a lot of things, but I disagree with you on a couple things. When I first got on this board, I was just a person sitting on the side, one of many. I wasn't in control of anything. I didn't have any say as far as chair or vice chair or anything like that, okay? That was going on long before me. When no one wanted to do this spot, I took this spot. I said, okay. But I need some guidance from people that were here already, which was Mr. Lemoy, because you know the history in that. Okay, that's all new for me as far as how this is done and what it is. So help me a bit. But I didn't make those decisions before, okay? So now it's given to me to find out the answers to this. So now I gotta do research and homework. How I'm attacking it, obviously, is not the way it's approved by everybody else. I think it should be done a different way. But this is what I chose to do, and I'm just using what guidance I can to get an answer. Yeah, that I thought about doing legal counsel. I thought about police, okay? But one thing that pops in my mind, whether I say it or it's said out there, is our expenses. So if I can spend my own time asking questions, going to see people, and finding out information so I can know where to go, and then bring that back to this board, and we can decide what to do without just making a decision with nothing to back it up, and then maybe have a problem down the road, that's how I chose to do it. You may not agree with what I'm doing.
I have a comment. I'm gonna respectfully say that I believe it's over your head and not something you're qualified to do. If you go speak to someone and have an investigation, what's to say, so-and-so said this and you said this, and, you have no proof, it's not recorded, so it's well above your head, and I think it's really time for you to turn this over to look for alternate means to try to settle it for these people.
And if I may, as a member of the pension board, as I was, your job is to administer the plan. You look at the plan, and the documents you're looking at in this room is our 5-year plan, whether it's mine, whether it's Kevin's. That was something we came and negotiated. You're not looking back into all the other contracts, which are easy reference by the rewrite that's not done yet. You're looking at the 5-year plan, the negotiation between my group and the town, and also the negotiation between Kevin's group and the town. You administer a plan. If you administer against what Kevin's saying, then you administer the plan. You make the decision. But I think there needs to be finality on these decisions. If you don't agree with my 5-year plan, our group 5-year plan, or Kevin's 5-year, make the decision. Then we can go elsewhere, okay? So I don't think it's something that should be delayed for definitely 2.5 years. 2.5 weeks would be enough for me. Well, thank you for your time.
Good evening, Dave Goslin, Town Council President. I just want to clarify a few things. Al, one thing, you keep saying investigation. You're doing research, you're not investigating.
Yep.
So, and I think into police officers and firemen, when you say investigation, you think there's a big collaboration of people getting together and investigating a
Yep.
crime.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm the only town council member that's left on the town council that had anything to do with the MOU. The town council, back 5 years, almost 6 years ago, negotiated an MOU with almost everyone. It then came back to once the council agreed upon it, it came back before the pension board. The pension board voted on it. Now, there's 4 individuals or 6 individuals that keep getting thrown out there. I can't say yes, I can't say no. If there was anything stopping the pension board or the town or whoever authorized those 4 not to be part of their MOU and what benefits they were receiving, if they received any cuts at all. Still can't, Mr. O'Connell says he can't get that answer. At the last town council meeting, I have given suggestions to Mr. O'Connell and to anybody in this room. Anybody's pension, payroll, and whatever here in this town, you have the right to request a public request for that in writing. So that way there, you come in here, you fill out that paperwork, and you request it. The town has 10 days, the pension board or whoever has 10 days to respond. If you need further time, you still gotta respond and say, this town needs further time for the reasons,
Right.
okay? So, anybody here
It's already been done.
wants to do that, that's what you should do. Okay, to come here and even asking the council, when I'm up behind that chair and sitting there, and somebody asks me a question, if I can answer it, I'll answer it. But by rights, if I don't want to answer it, I don't have to answer it. And I'm not that type of person, I'll try to answer everything I can. But if they put it in writing and request it, the town has to answer that. That's plain and simple. Second of all, the people that you need to go back and ask, Tracy, is Bill Dolan, who still represents this town, and let me tell you, he keeps very good record of everything, email-wise, Penza and Castle, Jeff Castle. Anytime that we have reached out to them for any questions, they come back with the emails or whatever. Al, the question you asked me, and I'll make it public, you asked if the town manager or the finance director can make that decision. I said, I don't think so, but I think you need to ask legal advice from our solicitor and your solicitor. Because, but again, if they made the suggestion and brought it back to the pension board for those 4 individuals, like I said, the 4 of you weren't here. They may have voted on it back then, but you need to go back to those minutes and find when that may or may not have happened. Because, again, and Kevin can probably, everybody can probably give you dates on when the MOUs were voted on exactly in the pension board meetings. And look around that time and listen to the minutes. You might find that somebody put those 4 on the agenda, and somebody may have missed it that night. I don't know. Are these individuals upset that those 4 or 6 may or may not be receiving the same benefit? They're rightfully upset because they paid and they may not. But again, I understand why they're upset, but I understand your side of it too. We just gotta dig to the answers. But investigation, I've heard wrongdoing, crimes, absolutely, if it was done, it either was done through the town, brought back to the pension board, but you gotta find the record of where it is, once and for all. And I understand it's been 2.5 years, 2 years, it's been frustrating for them, but, we're not stonewalling anybody. When I'm asked a question, if I can't answer it, I'll guide them in the right direction. And I just wanna make that clear, we're not stonewalling anybody. Al has been working diligently with Tracy on many conversations, and yes, you're not gonna get information overnight, especially when 4 individuals who weren't here when all this went on is virtually impossible. I have council members who, if it wasn't for me being there, they wouldn't know about the MOU, because, the only 2 up there now is the solicitor and myself.
But David, they don't know what the MOU is.
Well,
They don't read it. That's the problem.
I spoke highly of the group last council meeting. You have a tough job, I fully understand that. The members here get upset, I understand that. And we were talking about at the last meeting, the professionalism needs to be professional with everybody up here, both sides. And I think you could do a good job with that. Some of you do a very good job of that here. Again, I just want you guys to look into, stop using the word investigation, because that's not what it is. We're doing research, and that's exactly what you're doing. And now I applaud you, because I know some nights you're here till midnight with Tracy, working on some of this stuff.
Been here to midnight.
And, well, I was here one night with you at 10 o'clock at night.
Well, right, but not.
And I left, and you guys were still here, so.
Late 11:30 is the latest, but, all right.
11:30.
11:30, the last meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last meeting, we left at 11:30.
But at this point, you do have to get the answers, and you do have an attorney here. Our solicitor is willing to answer anything that he can deal with, because he was part of the MOU. But as far as the town manager and the finance director, when you asked me that question, I directed you to the solicitor, because there's nothing stopping the town per se saying, we're gonna keep these 4 individuals where they are and that's it. But did that come back to the pension board? Or were they never touched at all?
That's
a
what
good
we're,
question. Were they
yeah.
ever touched at all and just left the same benefit? We don't know.
right.
I can't answer that for you, but that's a question for Tracy and the actuaries, and go from there. And that's very simple. You go back 5, 6 years ago, look at what they were getting for benefits, and if they're getting the same benefit now, there was no change. But that's something you have to do the research on. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we at least clarify that we already have the answer to that question, and we already answered it, and they are getting the same?
We already did it. That's Ask Christo. We did it.
Wait, and so they're already
We
getting,
don't have all the answers, but we do know.
I don't
We
want
brought
to
it
argue
to a
with
meeting.
Mr. Goslin, but if you really want to get the answers that he says that you should, see if these individuals were touched. You gotta go back to this letter, and I keep on bringing it up to you, and we all made copies for you a long time ago. Because the other board before you said they didn't have copies of them, I made sure you all had copies of them. This is a letter from the West Warwick Pension Board, October 12th, so you have that date, October 12th, 2011. This is all for all West Warwick and police fire disability calculations. The pension board was going to, at that date, change the calculation for disabled police officers and firefighters. And what they did on that date is that they automatically took away longevity and holiday pay. Wiped it off the map. So when they did our calculation, it was just base salary, no more longevity and holiday pay, which I had been collecting for about 7 years already. It was already in my check every month. But somebody in their infinite wisdom sent us all a letter. And I'll read part of it, so you know that it's just not Kevin O'Connell that was affected.
Okay.
Each one of us was addressed personally. Mine says, "Dear Mr. O'Connell," but Mr. Ozenkowski got one, Mr. Tellier got one, Mr. DeCarlo, Mr. Fitz, Mr. Murley, Mr. Kelly, everybody got the same letter. This is to notify you that effective November 1st, your occupational disability pension benefit payment has been recalculated to the following monthly amount. So I was getting this, and November 1st, I was getting that. Now, I'm gonna go a little further, but let me give you a little history. According to your pension plan, that before you did this, I should have had a hearing. You should have voted on it. And you should have voted to take away longevity and holiday pay. Notify me in writing, and then I could come here and tell you why I don't think you should do it. And I have evidence, the reason why you shouldn't do it. But I was never afforded that opportunity. Oh, mistake by the pension board. Never afforded me the right under the pension plan. This notice to modify the occupational disability pension benefit calculation is consistent with the decision made by the town council and the West Warwick Pension Board. So you did it together. I don't know how that happened, because you're supposed to be the board. How'd that happen? Strange, isn't it? It says, based on review of only a portion of the valuable documents. And that's what we're all looking for, valuable documents, right? That's what you're looking for? That's what we're all looking for, right? Valuable documents to find out why you can take away this longevity holiday thing.
I thought it said available. Am I wrong? It
Excuse
says
me?
valuable? I thought it said available.
Available, I'm sorry. It appears that the calculation of occupation disability benefit in the past has included certain monies, holiday pay, and longevity. I won't go into it all, but and Mr. Goslin said he doesn't like this word. This is from the pension book. The town is also investigate this matter further and determine whether overpayments have occurred. And if so, in that amount, the above change in benefit calculation and payment represents an appropriate exercise of the council and the extension of the pension board's fiduciary responsibility with regard to the preservation of the assets of the pension plan. Make sure nobody was getting any money that they weren't supposed to. We just discussed that, didn't we? finally, as mentioned above, an investigation, not my words, your words, or your pension board, town's pension board, and probably the town council, because they were doing an investigation. You cohabitated for this investigation. As mentioned above, an investigation of the disability pension benefit payment is ongoing. So we're gonna take it away, even though the investigation is ongoing. Told the town council this the other day. If I did that when I was a policeman, the chief of police would have had my badge. I would have been out the door, stripped of my pension, and get the hell out. You know it as well as I do. They would never allow me to charge somebody if I wasn't done with my investigation. That is almost criminal on my part if I did that. But it happened. My guys got the reduction. We filed the lawsuit. We never got a hearing. And another $37,000 went down the drain to get to us to the MOU. That's how this was resolved. It went in court for all those years, for us trying to get back longevity and holiday pay until the town got into financial trouble. And then they wanted us to negotiate with them. And my guys will tell you, I told them to go stick it. Because I says, how can I negotiate with you when you already took away my longevity and holiday pay? How much more do you want from me? How much more can I bleed? How much more can I bleed? So you want me to go back to my guys and say, guys, guess what? The town's in financial trouble. They want more money from you. I told them to go stick it. I told Rosemary Booth Galobly that I won't negotiate it. I told Mr. Nolan that I wouldn't negotiate. I told everybody. And I had every right, because I was trying to protect their interests of an investigation that was going on illegally, because I wasn't afforded due process, and neither were 41 other guys. We weren't afforded our due process, which it states in your pension plan. So let's get back to this. Never got a resolution on this. So this investigation is still going on by this board. Maybe new members, but the investigation is still going on. And if you want me to put it in writing, I will. I want a conclusion to this. I want you to investigate whatever happened to get this resolved. Because my guys went to court and get this resolved. Because we signed an MOU. There's 6 individuals that didn't go to court and sign this. So, did you never take their longevity and holiday pay away? You probably did, because I think they all got this letter, because at that point, they were just regular disabled police officers and firefighters. So, when we signed the MOU, now we went to Superior Court, we got our longevity back, but I had to ask them to give up their holiday pay to resolve this. And I told them right to their face at the FOP, don't think this is a great deal. It isn't. You worked hard for what you were supposed to get. But this is the only way to resolve this lawsuit that is $37,000 already that we've paid. So nobody thanked me. I didn't thank them, but they signed it. Some individuals chose not to do it. Didn't begrudge them. I said, okay, you're on your own. Kevin O'Connell doesn't hound anybody. You don't want to do it? Don't do it. They chose not to do it. So, did they get back their longevity holiday pay? Did they get back just their longevity? Under the MOU? Did they get the 2%? Now, Mr. Goslin said that you voted on the MOU. I don't think there was ever a vote on the MOU. I come to every pension meeting, unless I'm deathly ill. I never heard the pension board vote on the MOU after we signed it. Been to every pension board meeting. So I don't think there was ever a vote. Just like there wasn't a vote on Mrs. Kelsey's 2% until I pressured you into getting them a vote. It was in July, give it to her till last month. You never vote anything, you vote on this? You just omit that part of the pension plan. You have a responsibility, you have to read that pension plan and know what's in it. So you have to know what my rights are and what your rights are. And that's why I stand up for these guys' rights, because I know what's in that pension plan. I know what's in that MOU. So, if you want me to put it in writing, Al, I'll be happy to, or do you want to continue this investigation, because it's ongoing?
I'm actually confused, because it sounds to me like you're telling me that the consent judgment resolved that. So
Well,
it's not ongoing,
It
it's
is
resolved.
Because what about the 6 guys that never joined? They took away their longevity and holiday pay. If they never went to court to resolve this, what happened to those 6 individuals? Do they still get their longevity and holiday pay taken out of their pension? Or was it restored to them? And if it was restored to them, how could they restore it to them? Because you never resolved the investigation. Or did you
Yeah.
resolve it and never notify us?
I don't, yeah, I can't imagine why, back in 2011, they would have been treated any different than the way you were being treated. Okay, so they were, I think, they were probably all treated, you all were treated the same way.
Up until 2015, when we signed
When
the
you-
MOU.
Right.
Because if you go look at all the MOUs in our folders upstairs,
Right,
we should all have our MOU
okay.
with our John Hancocks on
Mhm.
it, okay? Meaning our signature, that we all went in front of Judge Rubin. So if there's a file with a disabled police officer or firefighter that doesn't have the MOU, that would raise a red flag and say, oh, these guys didn't sign the MOU. So they can't get the benefits under the MOU, so what are they entitled to? They're only entitled to this ongoing investigation that we have. Because we could never give them back their longevity pay, because they never went to court to get the longevity pay.
Mm.
Right? The board never
So-
voted to give them their longevity pay back. I know you didn't. I've been in charge of this organization since 1993. Long time. 1993. Started when I was 30-some years old. So, yeah, am I passionate about it? I am, because I know how things were done. And you're all new, but you should want a conclusion to this, because now I made you aware that there's an ongoing investigation. Everybody says, let's not use the word investigation. I didn't use this word. I did not use this word. The town council and the pension board used this word. And you need to resolve it. Now that you're all sitting up there, it's your job to resolve this. So you either say, you guys should get your longevity and holiday pay, or you shouldn't. After we reviewed all the documents, all the legal documents, all the mountains of evidence that you can find in reference to longevity and holiday pay, you make a decision. I mean, you go look at the union contracts, and if you look at the current one, police and fire, disability guys get longevity and holiday pay. Isn't that strange? They took it away in 2011 because they're investigating it. No resolution on this, but a person that gets hurt today on the police or fire gets longevity and holiday pay in their disability pension.
So it was negotiated that that's the way it would be, right?
So was it? I received it for 12 years. I received longevity and holiday pay. First it was
Right.
longevity, then the union included holiday pay. So then they included longevity and holiday pay. So I got whatever a policeman was getting. Oh yeah, it's confusing.
Yeah,
If you didn't live it,
yeah,
you would get confused.
okay.
So if you want me to have a meeting with the board and fill you in on everything I know, I'd be happy to.
So we're just still talking about the four or six guys that are not part of your consent judgment, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But this goes hand in hand with it. So my question is, do you want me to put in writing that you should continue this investigation? Or how do you want to work this? Because this goes hand in hand with that.
Yeah, I don't think we need that at this point. I think what we need to do is to continue on the path that we're on.
When did it go from 4 to 6? Because you gave us the names.
Right.
So when, all of a sudden,
Within
since
the
the
last-
last time you talked
Yes,
about it,
within the
to
last,
present, how did you find 2 more that you never told us
I
about?
can't discuss that.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm confused, 'cause
Right,
we
I know.
only researched the 4
And I can't
names.
talk to you about it
Okay.
because it's in litigation.
Oh, okay,
The
sorry.
town
'cause
brought
I-
that up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So they may
'Cause
not.
I'm
be
missing that, because
Right.
we only did those names,
Exactly.
okay.
I'm gonna say that I would welcome a meeting, you informing us of your facts that you have to enlighten us all. And I'm gonna say that, we should, after finding out the facts, close the investigation. And I'm also gonna say that give you your information of what they are actually receiving.
Well,
I
I think Tracy knows already. I put in
That's already
the
a
form for the
request, yeah.
documents already. I put them in Friday, I believe, Thursday or Friday.
I'm
Yes,
probably gonna
yeah,
do
the
it
request is in, it's
second
being
way,
worked on, right.
forget it.
Yeah,
But I'll wait
good.
and see, maybe they'll come in.
What she said, the request is in and we'll get that, yeah.
I already got mine, but I'm just waiting.
I can understand the sentiment regarding us making a decision, right away, almost. I think that some people think that we could make the decision on the basis of the information that we have already. But our chairman feels that he's getting closer to the answers that he's looking for. But if in any case those answers are not forthcoming, then we may have to make a decision, regardless of the consequences. And
Did you hear what she said?
yeah,
That it's above your pay grade to look into this. It really
Yeah.
is.
And there's no stating that facts will be found, so.
Well, it's a he said, she said. I tell you something, we go back, I didn't say that, I said that. So maybe 2 or 3 of you should come here and not investigate, but go through the crumbs with Al and say, hey, we all found this out, or we found out nothing. Then just leave it to Al with the help of Tracy, because Tracy doesn't sit on the board. She just is the secretary. So you can't rely on Tracy's testimony or investigation, because it's the board that ultimately makes the decision. So if you 3 would go with Tracy and look through the crumbs, and or 4 of you, I probably can't meet all 4 of
No, I
you,
don't think so.
because,
Correct.
correct. So maybe one other. I don't even know if it can be 3, because it's on the full board.
Also correct.
Right.
Two would be good.
2 would be good.
2 is safe.
At least you would have somebody to back you up of what you found and what you didn't find. I would feel more comfortable with that. I don't know if you would.
I'm welcome to help out in whichever way
So
I
Kevin,
can.
at this point in time, you wanna know how they're calculated, what they're receiving now, and just a resolution.
Right, from
That's
2011,
all I need.
from 2011 to 2020, what they're getting.
And who signed
Right.
it? And who signed it? Who
She
authorized
won't be
it?
able to find
Who-
that.
I don't think
Yeah.
we'll be able to find that, that's what he's talking about, so I just said, if you
From
give
the
them
company.
how they moved in the steps to resolve the issue, and then you guys would have to vote on a conclusion
But someone had to authorize it.
resolution. That's what he's
yeah,
looking
well,
for.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find that, that would be
But
great.
I'm saying, why can't you ask them
Who
who
authorized those
authorized it?
payments for
I
the 6
can't call up and
individuals?
authorize it. I don't think she can call up and authorize it. Someone had to authorize the payment, so
Well,
they
you would
should
have
have
to vote on it.
documentation.
Well, the
Well,
payments,
apparently
yeah,
they
would have
did.
been voted here and sent to the bank.
So Naya maybe has it in their records, saying, okay, we received the vote from the pension board, 4-0, that they should get these benefits, or no, they never voted on it. This individual called up and we had a phone call.
So we should be able to obtain that information.
I think so.
yeah.
I think you should. I think you should. I mean, I know your records are kind of shaky because you don't get all the documents, but I think NIOP will keep a good record of who authorized these payments on certain dates.
Krista?
They
That
should.
would be the bank, but NIHA only does the calculation.
Right, but somebody would have to tell them, say, this is how you calculate this, we had a vote.
Yeah, we want to know
How would they know
who
how to
approved
calculate?
Well, if we just send it over and they actually, NIHA
Oh, we
actually
send
looks at
Mrs.
the
Kelsey's
consent
over.
judgments, they look at the CBAs, then it comes back to the board and they vote on it and check it to see if it's correct. It's a little
In a
different.
perfect world, it would
Yeah.
be, but in Mrs. Kelsey's case, her husband died, attached the MOU to it, sent
I
it to
did
NIHA.
attach the MOU.
I know you did. Oh, you did an
I thought
excellent
you
job.
said I didn't.
Oh, no, you did an excellent job. But there was no vote. Somebody did. Somebody denied her a benefit. And you could check into that too, although you can't because it's in litigation.
Krista, do you have a copy of
Confusing,
that?
isn't it?
Of the 2011 letter?
Okay.
You have this?
Yep, she's got it.
You
Okay.
have it.
Yep.
Yeah, they all.
I just wanted to see if she's had and looked at it. All right.
I think Krista even did your packet. So that should be in there.
Tracy does it.
Yeah,
Tracy does the packet.
there you go. She's always on top of it.
Yep, okay.
Thank you.
Al, all the
Thank you.
recordings that are up there, they have recordings on file somewhere. Look at that.
All right.
Pay for it every time we have a meeting.
Actually, we don't pay for it anymore. I stopped
Now we don't?
because we didn't request it. And I went to the council on that, and actually, we never did pay for it. Somehow it got changed, we got paid. And Mr. Gotham brought that up, and we haven't paid 1 cent.
About time.
Any other discussion? All right, I'd like to have somebody make a motion table to the next meeting.
Okay, on item, agenda item K, I'd like to make a motion that we table this till the next meeting to, until we get further information.
I second the motion.
Motion made and seconded to item K to be tabled to the next meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and action regarding MERS, item L. I talked at a meeting with the town manager, and he informed me that the town council has agreed to pay for an independent study done, I can't remember the name of the company, to look into the MERS system, our system, reports from actuary and a whole bunch of other information they asked for, to pros and cons of the system, come up with a report of what recommendations so forth, and then report that back to the council. We are in the process of giving the information that company has asked for. Have received I had a phone conversation Friday night with Citizens Bank, because they were ones who took care of stuff at the time for the time period that they're looking for the information. Got an email, sent an email to her yesterday afternoon. Got a phone call, an email this afternoon, and they are in the process of getting the rest of the information that company needs. Tracy's already pulled up a bunch of stuff and sent that to them in the format and system that they're looking for. As soon as we get the last little bit, that'll get to them.
I'm not waiting anything on citizens, I'm not sure. what
What's
you're
it, the
saying.
citizen stuff we needed for them, right?
Citizens is for Kevin's open
Okay,
records
all right.
request.
They don't need the other stuff then, so that was just.
I already sent
Okay.
everything over
All
so
right.
far.
All right, then they've got everything, and so we'll just wait for that report to come back.
So they have all the information they need for the report?
Yep, and they're working.
I'm not sure if they have all, they told me it was a good start. I sent over all the figures that we used for the valuation report and the revised packet, as well as the report that was presented here. So they told me they had a very good start. If they have any questions, they were gonna let us know.
When I say all, is what they've asked for at the email. Any other discussion? Okay. Item M, discussion action regarding NAHA email on update projected in Gatsby requirement. Michelle, I believe you asked for
Yeah,
that.
remind me of what that was. I don't remember that email.
And they did do that, they did not charge us for it.
They didn't charge us?
No,
No, they just changed that rate, and they did
they just
another
changed the rate, did that.
report, so-
If they were to do anything else other than that, then there would be a charge. What's hard here, and I looked at it earlier this afternoon, sitting with Tracy going over stuff, and to look at the chart is hard because it's black and white and the stuff is in colors, so you can't figure out which is which for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Look at it.
What page was that chart on?
That should be on the 4th page of the packet.
I could try to see if I can get you guys the colored one.
Yeah.
You want the NIAB report? It's in color right here.
No,
Well,
no, this is the
new one.
projections. This is different projections.
Yeah, just a little change in that rate.
It gives us, what would be 4.5% return, 5.25, 6.5, and then the 7.5.
Yeah, they know that this is useless. I'm sorry, these people do charts day in and day out. They could have done it in black and white and used dots or dashes or something for something different.
Well, wait a
I'll
minute.
get you a
Stars,
color one
whatever.
and send it to you.
It may have came in color,
Oh.
You
but
might
when it's
have it in
printed,
your
the printer
email.
may have only printed black and white, so I'm not sure if it's them or us.
No, you guys have the email, the way that they sent it.
Yeah, but I'm saying this here, I don't think it's
I
them.
don't remember if it
I
was in
think it's the
black and white or
printer.
color.
Okay. Well, we may have to tell them that next time.
The thing if we have, we wanted to see what that was in that, for the long term. It goes up to the year 2051, and then it shows you from 2021 to 2051, the differences that would be, recommended contributions for the different amounts, percentage of pay and so forth. If we were to do something like that, that was adopted by I forget the name of the plan, through the council, under the 5-year plan, that the 7.5, so to make some changes, I've got some questions about that as to, once I found that information, packets about that thick, and I haven't been able to read through it all yet, but what do we do if we do that? I'm trying also get a phone conference with them to see recommendations and so forth, because Helene and I have talked about changes and so forth. She's pulling out some information, and once she gets that back, then we'll go further with that. But that's where that stands.
Well,
Doesn't look like there's a big difference though, does it?
it doesn't, but,
No.
and that's usually the way it is with pension contributions. When you contribute a little bit more every year, and it shows up, you get much more benefits 30 years later.
Yeah.
You know?
It's the long term.
Rather, right, it's a long-term process, so you give a little more now, and your benefits, compound themselves, and by, 30 years later, it's looking pretty good. The question is, well, I guess one of the things that's gonna influence this is the MERS study that we're doing too. So,
Yeah.
you're kind of doing this in conjunction with the MERS study, and if they decide that MERS is the way to go, then all of this is moot,
Right.
okay?
But until we get those answers back, then we don't know which way to go yet.
So, the only thing we can do is to, hedge our bets and try to work a little bit on this, and with the council, and say, if MERS is your plan A and that falls through, can this be your plan B? So, okay?
Yeah, well, something's gonna be done, because we've only meet the 7.5 once, so, come close a few times, but again, it changes, so it's hard to predict. But yeah, we've got that, so if we need to do something.
Okay.
Sorry, I was trying to answer her question, but talking to her. Anything else?
No, but I'll take this with all the other information I've gotten. Probably by April, we'll have some answers, okay?
Okay.
Do you wanna just table it?
till,
And put it back on in it like April, discussion.
You want to do that?
I don't,
yeah, except
What
I don't
else
want
can
to,
we
I don't
do?
want to call it Gatsby. I
can't
wanna-
make a decision on it.
let's talk about,
We have
on the, in April, let's talk about the health of the plan,
Okay.
okay? The health of the pension plan.
Right, just make a motion.
So I'd like to make a motion to table item M and put it until April and rephrase it as the health of the pension plan.
Second emotion.
Motion been made and seconded to table item M until April meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Al, can I interrupt 1 second?
Yes, sir.
Is there a volume button for the speakers so you can hear?
No, that one's loud.
They're not talking into it, so we can't hear out here.
I do.
You're talking so soft.
Hearing aid.
It's on all the way. It was like 2 notches. See if it's any better.
Are there many other people that are hard of hearing on this?
There's a lot of us out here.
You guys are all
If it wasn't a retirement hearing, maybe we would, no. I know, that's bad.
How to discern
All right.
relatively speaking.
Can you hear me?
and my bad.
I'm gonna end up with a mouthful of foam after, but that's okay. Item N, discussion and action and vote on determination of legal counsel expenses and attendance. We have talked about this a few times in executive session. I think it's been a few meetings, so we didn't have a quorum a couple of times, but I think it was decided that, and if I'm wrong, correct me, because it's been a few months back, but that we would not have legal counsel at meetings, and if we had a question that came up or whatever, and we needed an answer, we didn't know the answer legally, that we would table it, send an email or call, and get the information to her so that she could give us an answer, and whether it was something that could be done in email, and then we could go from there, or if she had to come back, do some research, and come back at the next meeting and give us an answer. I believe that's how I remember it since then.
So it was, I think you said decided, I don't know that you meant to say decided, that it was discussed,
Discussed, sorry. Yep, discussed.
just to be clear.
Yep.
It was discussed, the drawback of that is that we're going to be it's going to take longer to get some things resolved because we won't be able to have those answers at our, during a meeting. So,
Well, I can think of a number of cases where we spent too much time on one case or another case, one case involving a quadro thing. I'm not going to mention the name. Well, maybe I can because it was public. But it went on for about a year. Another case was about a policeman transferred, even this department going to another, working in East Providence. To me, the issues didn't sound that complicated. I don't know why it had to take so long. So those are the things I think we ought to watch out for in the future, to cut down the amount of time we spend on those kind of cases, so that it only increases our legal expenses tremendously.
I have a comment. So I'm wondering if we can ask Kevin to discuss with us in the past how they've used legal counsel. I know you told us a couple of meetings ago, you gave us a brief,
I can give you my personal experience.
yeah.
I sat on the board for approximately 6 or 7 months back in the 90s when I retired as a policeman. And I would have stayed, but we had a problem with the pension, and I had to leave in place of counsel. But while I was there, we didn't have a lawyer. Susan McGurl, who was the town solicitor, was the town lawyer. And if we had a meeting and a legal issue came up, if we were just approving pensions or we're looking at figures and all that, we're smart enough people, we would look at the contracts, the MOUs, and make a decision, a consensus as to what we were going to do. And we would vote on it. But if there was a legal question that came up, I would say, okay, I will notify Susan McGurl. Back then, we didn't have email. I would call her, so Susan, question came up, please give us a written response as to, what's your legal opinion? Yeah, maybe took a month. That's it. Next meeting, I usually had her opinion. Not that I always agreed with it, but she was our attorney, or the town's attorney, and we respected her decision because she was the legal mind, and she supposedly knew what she was talking about. And that's how we went. We sat there as a board, approved the pensions, or the business, paying bills and stuff. We didn't have an attorney there. It wasn't until I left and they got a new pension board where, and I hate to bring personalities into it, but they didn't like Susan McGurl. They didn't like the advice she was giving the pension board, so they wanted their own attorney. And I says, who's going to pay for that? Well, 2 members on record, I have it on tape, cassette tape. That's how far back it goes, cassette tape. They said, well, Kevin, we want our own attorney. I says, I know you want your own attorney. In a perfect world, everybody wants their own attorney. I said, my question is, who's going to pay for this attorney? As you know, attorneys are expensive, as I told you tonight with the figures I've been paying.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, well, we're going to have the town pay for it. I says, the town? Yeah, the town of West Warwick. We're going to send the bill to the finance, and they'll pay the attorney. I said, they're going to pay an extra lawyer when you got Susan McGurl sitting there? They said, well, we don't like her. I said, well, the town of West Warwick is never going to pay for your attorney. Yep, and they voted. They had a vote, you can hear it. They voted to have their own attorney. Well, following meeting, they were discussing it, and sure enough, town council said, oh yeah, we're not paying for the attorney. So they hired an attorney. Town said, we're not paying for it. And that's how all the administrative costs got turned around. Because before, the town paid for all the administrative costs. Everything came out of the town treasurer. And it was a financial hardship on the town because they were paying things coming out. And they didn't want to do that. My secretary was Karen Simpson, who was on the pension board. She was a member of the pension board. She was a secretary. So they wanted their own secretary, so they got their own secretary. And that's where they started paying the expenses out of the pension plan. They voted to stop paying the administrative expenses. And you can hear the tapes. You think I was irate the last meeting? You should hear me on that meeting. I says, do you know what you're doing? You're opening yourself a checkbook that you can write any check you want at any time. You can pay her, you can buy computers, you can buy anything. You want to buy yourself a 50-inch TV to watch yourselves? You can do that.
They made them then? They made them then?
The big ones, the consoles. Yeah, they did, the consoles, not the flat.
Okay.
That answer your question. But I said, no. I said, you can't do that. You know what they told me? Shut up, Kevin, and sit down. That's what they told me. It's on tape. Shut up and sit down.
You weren't on the board when
No,
they
I had to resign.
Okay.
I had to resign.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So they told me to shut up, kept on bringing it up, and then they wouldn't listen to me anymore. They kept on banging the gavel every time I spoke up. Kevin, we had enough of this. We're not doing it anymore. We're paying the expenses out of the pension plan, and that's it. So, voice of one, what happens? They do what they want to do, and this is where you are today. This is where you have today.
Yep.
That's how it
This
started.
board's an improvement.
To the council, to have them address the board members.
Because the town council liked it, because that money wasn't coming out of the town treasurer anymore. That was coming out of the pension fund. And they didn't mind at that time, because the pension fund at that point was fully funded, like 99% funded. So, they're taking administrative costs out for that. Nobody really cared. I cared, My friend Eddie Kelsey cared, okay? Ronnie Noons cared, because we fought. Say, don't do this, you're setting a bad precedent.
Yep.
And this is where you are at 2020. So, my thing is, if you want to keep your attorney and keep her here on go back to the old ways. Send the bills to the finance, like the olden days. You want to have an attorney? You want to have a secretary? Say, I vote 4-0 to send, I don't know, $1,700 this month for the pension attorney to the finance. I vote secretary's pay $300 to go, I don't know if you get that much, Trace, I'm just, goes to the finance. As soon as you do that, I guarantee you, they'll have a meeting with you. The town council will request a meeting with the pension board, saying, what are you doing? We can't afford all these bills, lawyers' fees, this and that. That's when you'll hear from them. They didn't have any problem then, because it was coming out of the pension fund. That freed up more money for them. That's how it happened. And if you ever want to listen to the tapes, anybody got a recorder? I was going to bring them one night, but I figured nobody has a recorder anymore. But I listened to them once in a while, because I said, this is where we were, and this is where we are now. It isn't rocket science. If you know what you're doing up there, and you're passionate, and you read the contracts, and the MOUs, you can make educated decisions. And if it really gets difficult, yeah, you can ask Krista. You have that right.
Mr. Goslin, could you come up here, please?
Oh, Dave, I didn't know you were there. I didn't know you were still there.
Why, yeah, see, you want to pawn the bill off on. So,
That'll get your attention.
let me clarify something, because I know I was part of some of that in 2006, where bills would come from the town would be paying the bills and administrative fees and whatever it may be. Just remember the ARC, all that's built in.
They said it isn't, Dave.
Right.
I talked to
Well,
Jack.
we'll double check it again. Just remember one thing. The town used to put in anywhere between $1.5 million to $2 million. And when administrative fees came to the town would take the administrative fees out of the contribution. So it was just, it was a wash. It was financing at its best. Finance is at its best, okay? With that being said, what Mr. O'Connell said about 1993 and the council liking the pension board and whatever, that's reversed in 06, 08, because the town council said, who's going to care more about the spending of the pension? The people on the board, because there were a lot of town employees on that board. Then at one time, there was no employees on the board. Then another time, more employees came on the board. And just recently, you had employees all leave the board. We, as a council, said, who's going to care more about spending that money on lawyers, administration, are the people on that board and the employees who are on that board, and obviously the people who come to these meetings and listen to the expenses. Now, when those expenses came back to the council didn't question anything. They just paid it out of the finance department, because the council didn't even see it. The council don't sit here and vote every month on expenses like you do. The council, it goes down to the finance department. The finance department puts it in the budget, and the budget would be voted on, pass or fail, by the voters of this town of West Warwick.
Right.
When it comes to you, at least you can vote yay or nay on that. The only thing the council had power over at the time was putting a line item in the budget, and that's why that changed back in somewhere in 06, 08, if I'm correct. Because it was just downstairs, it would just change hands. And Tracy, you can attest to that. All right, we're going to say we're going to spend $200,000. We're going to take instead of 1.5 million, we're going to give them 1.4 million or 1.3 million, whatever it may be. So that's all it was. We stopped that dirty stuff. We as a council did not want to be part of the pension. We wanted the pension board to handle the pension. We didn't want the council to vote who gets like everybody says, put this on the council. We as a council throughout the years, no matter who was on that board, from 06 on, I can speak for, the council does not want to vote on who's getting a pension,
who's not getting a pension, because, let's put it this way, there's council members up there who took it personal, might not like me, might not like you. I'm not voting for their pension. That's why it's in your hands. You're an autonomous board, nothing to do personnel-wise, personal-wise, personality-wise, and I've been up here long enough, almost going on 14, it was actually 14 years this past November. I will tell you, people don't like people, and they hold it personal. It should not be in the council's hand, plain and simple, because you don't know who's going to be elected up there at any given time, okay? I've watched people fight here about their pensions. I've seen people lose friendships over pensions in this town. It's unfortunate, and I've always said it's their livelihoods. But again, the only reason that went to the administrative fees towards the pension was to take that out of the council's hand, because they were just taking it, and in the budget, the town manager, whoever it was, whether it was Wolfgang Bauer, whether it was Jim Thomas, Jim Stamfler, whoever it was, when it came budget time, they just said, whatever the costs are, that's minus what we're going to give them. I'd rather see it here. That way there, you can read it publicly every single month, and they can keep an eye on that. If it's in a budget, the only time you're going to see it is once a month, once a quarter right now, read before the town council of where we are on expenses. And we don't go line by line. You're going line by line up here of your expenses. I think it's best in your hands.
I asked you to come up because I had a question.
Yep.
So, and
I
that's
wanted to
all,
run.
that's all well and good, and my discussions with you and other people, basically all the same thing. That's, my question is, if we use the town solicitor now.
That's a big mistake.
Well, let me just finish. He now works, basically, it's like a retainer as a fixed fee for whatever, and if he specifies in there, if he does other things, then his fee is based on what his rate is, as
So
his firm.
his contract with the town council is a flat fee per month doing council work.
Right.
Any legal lawsuits or anything that goes to court, it's, I think, $150 an hour at that point. His contract does not state anything to do with this pension board.
So if we were to send something to him and have him do it, he is gonna bill us as Mr. Williamson and not solicitor of the town of West Warwick, as far as his rate? Because it's not covered under his
That's a
contract?
question we'd have to go back and ask.
Is that a conflict of interest?
I will tell you that I do not think the town solicitor who should be doing the pension work, because there are times, and let's face it, in 1993, the pension was doing much better, almost 100%, okay? Happy-go-lucky. Nobody was complaining, because everything was there. But think about the MOUs. If the town solicitor is representing the town and the pension board, you think we would have settled that MOU? I know that would not have happened. The court cases that we've had over the past 10 years, if we had our town solicitor acting in both roles, do you think we would have settled anything? I don't think so. It's a conflict, it gets very dicey, and you should have your own attorney. How you want to handle that? I mean, people have come to us with our bills over the years, and we've resolved that. We said, okay, we're not going to have you bill hourly. We want a flat rate. Yes, when it goes to court or whatever, yeah, we negotiated a contract. You have that ability. You negotiate, you hire, and you fire your attorney anytime you want. It's your right. You know, you get, I think, I don't know, is it a yearly for you, or is it just
I've guaranteed rates for 3 years, but it's at will.
at will?
Yep.
So, again, if her contract's up, if that law firm is up, you go out to bid. That's not saying our solicitor won't say, my rate for this board is $300 an hour. And I can tell you, and I've been here many years with some of you, and I know some of you will have conflict with him being up there. Once you even if you're saying, I want him there, in 2 months you're going to say, I want him out of here. I know it, because I've seen some of you argue with him and say right to him, I don't care what you say, I don't like you. I've seen it here in my council chambers. So to sit here and say you want the town solicitor, I'm going to say you're crazy. You're better off having your own attorney.
I didn't say that. I didn't say you
No, you said back in the nineties, that's what we had. You don't want to go back to the nineties.
No, and,
Well, they
you
go
know,
back to 99% funded.
to argue this,
That I
to
understand.
argue this point, when we filed a lawsuit, we filed it against the town of West Warwick. We left you guys out of it. You guys aren't even part of that
And
lawsuit.
that's usually how it goes.
Exactly, because the MOU had nothing to do with you. You weren't in on negotiations, you didn't go to court with us, we didn't want you there, we didn't want your attorney there. We wanted the town, because they're the ones who wanted to negotiate with us.
Can I ask one quick question? Sure. And again, I know everybody just said they'd like to go back to 93 and fully funded. I would love to. At the beginning of this meeting, what was the fund balance in the pension?
43 million.
Where was it 6 years ago?
20.
It was, at one point, it was about the 13 million,
I was gonna say.
at the worst point. Okay? And now considering, we all knew, council, members here knew it was not going to be fixed. If you look at the NIHOT report, it shows, I'm sorry, I may be dead and gone by the time it's fixed. Because it said 30 to 40 years before we're going to get there. And there's going to be a time we're going to be paying $17 million a year in pension contributions. All right? We know it's coming. It's in writing. It's an average of $400,000 a year. And by the time we get up to that 400,000, it's $300,000 to $400,000 a year. It's right there on paper. It's you know, I've sat here and had other members of our council say, oh, we're going to raise taxes $6 million because that's what the pension's going up. No, we have it in writing where it's going to start correcting itself. Unfortunately, 2040, 2060, whatever year, and I don't have it in front of me right now, is when it's going to be back to 100% funded. Now, give or take, you know, you might have some great years. We don't know what we're going to have in the stock market. But that's what NIHOP put in front of us as a council, in front of me. And I accepted that because I knew it wasn't going to be fixed in 5 years. But if you look at where this pension is 5 years later, in 2006, if you told me as a rookie council member that we're going to be putting in $10 to $11 million a year, I would have laughed at you. I would have. I'd be like, no way. But that was my ignorance as a young council member. Okay, and I've told some of you, I've made mistakes by cutting contributions to the pension. I don't, you know, like again, Mr. Landro said, he was up there. He's made mistakes. I've made mistakes. But here we are as a council, year to year, fighting up at the school, trying to get a budget passed to put in $11 million a year. You know, personally, if you sat here and put everybody's pension on this wall out here and made it public, from top to bottom, why not? You know what everybody's making, okay? But I tell you right now, when it comes time to pass a budget, we're going to have some fun because it gets very difficult. Because when I, David Goslin, as a politician, knocked door to door and saying we had to raise your taxes because we had to pay pensions. Some people understand, some people don't care. But again, you have a council, and I think you have a pension board that truly care at this point, that want to make sure this pension survives, that want, I'm the fourth generation, my kids are the fifth. I want to make sure they're here and they're staying in this community. I want to make sure my grandchildren are growing up in this community, and every one of you have either children or grandchildren in this community. And I know how each and every one of you stay involved in this community, going to softball games, going to sporting events, at different things, pictures, taken around town, involved. We all care about the community, and that's what we want to make sure. So don't think that they're against you and they're against you. Just let's all try to work together in getting this resolved. And that's the only thing I can say as the council president. It's not the easiest thing. We're not going to always agree on everything. I sit up there as a council member. We don't always agree on everything, nor should we.
And I agree with you, David, that was a beautiful speech, but when you have documents on top of documents on top of documents that go against everything you believe in and everything you believe in and everything supposedly they believe in and the pension board before them, documents on top of documents, and it clearly shows a fifth grader could read this and say, why are we doing this? And why are we doing this? Why are we doing this to these people? You have educated people that are working for the pension board and advising them the right thing to do,
and then I get a copy of a thing that says a certain thing, and then I bring it to your attention, I bring it to their attention, and what do I get? You call it stonewalling, or you call it Shawan, or you call it lying, this is what I get. Town council hasn't adopted it yet, right? Even though she put it on paper, the town council hasn't adopted it yet, so it's not law. So, it's in writing, I have here a document. And I want to trust you people, and I want to trust the town council, when I have a document, and I know it's going to be changed. I know it. I can guarantee you 100% it's going to be changed.
Kevin, are you talking
You
about
know
the
it, and-
redraft?
Yes, we have. We talked about it, we know it's going to be changed, and you know why it's going to be changed. And I didn't put it there, and God knows you must have put it there, because you are the boss. I don't know why it was there, and now it's going to be changed, and I know why it's going to be changed. And so let's not talk about trust all the time, okay? Let's be trustworthy. That's all I'm saying, trustworthy. Because if you have a document, you can't deny a document. You can't. It's in black and white. That's all I'm saying. If it wasn't in black and white, we can hash it out in court.
All right, come on, get back to what, as far as the attendance and everything we're talking about for dollars and all of that, this kind of ties to it.
Al, will you pull your mic
What you
close,
just,
please?
what you
We
just
hear
said,
everybody else but you.
I was reading the other night, I don't remember the exact name, but the document that you approved a couple months ago back at a council meeting that you had to give to the state, and it talks about the development, and it has the projections and everything. And it got me concerned with this here, particular item we're on, and a couple others here, that what the projections I looked in the NAIOS report last December, and what that's talking about, the numbers get even higher than the 17 million. But the issue is, when you look at that plan that was submitted to the state that's required, it shows that the incomes and the tenants and all of that stuff is not going to meet the stuff, and there's going to be big challenges as to the council at that time. Have you read some of that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've spoke to Councilwoman Williamson, she's had some in-depth discussion about it. At this point, we brought it up, it's gonna be a time where, right now, we have pensions that are starting to match the contribution again, the ARC. So it's gonna have to fluctuate somewhere along the line.
Because I keep thinking about expenses, and that's not just her expense. It's just other things. I look at that, but I wonder about the legal challenges and whether we should do things or not, or whatever. Trying to put it all together, you know.
And you can see, there's a few reasons why the council is actually supporting MERS at this point. One, I will say this, there's time restraints. You have Seth Magaziner, who's met with us, is open to discussing numbers and whatever else. There's no hidden secret. He has bigger agendas politically wise, and we don't know who the next general treasurer will be.
Right.
They may not accept West Warwick at that time. So there's number one. Number two, we're talking about administrative fees of how much per year? Few hundred thousand?
Give or take, yeah.
Okay, that's no longer there.
Right.
We're talking about better returns and a bigger pool of money. There's thousands of people in that pension where there's hundreds of people in this pension, so the contribution will be better. I've sat here in town hall. Right now, MERS's contribution, I think, is 9%, if I remember correctly. There are people in this town hall that are paying 13% into their pension. They go to MERS, they're already getting a 4% pay increase. One thing I've heard from everybody in this town, we want more money, we want more money, we want to raise, we want to raise. That's what I've heard. They're already getting 4% back into their paycheck on a biweekly basis. Yes, it's their money, they were putting 4% more into their pension, but they're going to get almost the same pension putting in 9% as they're putting in 13%. To me, that's an increase. All right? Now I've heard people say, oh, no, we don't want that, we don't want that. Well, why? You gotta sit down and take apples for apples. Will the West Warwick pension always be there? I can't say yes, I can't say no. There could be a council that's elected next November that goes rogue. Says, we're not putting 10 million in, we're putting 1, and we're giving the taxpayers all their money back. There'll be a revolt, don't get me wrong, but that could happen.
Am I wrong, and if I remember correct, wouldn't all the liabilities still be a responsibility of the town and not theirs?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, but again, it ends up in court. Look at Central Falls. Look at the legal battles that have happened throughout communities. There's no, West Warwick came out with their pension crisis much earlier than everybody else. Did everybody else have those crises? Absolutely. It's just now it's coming public. Cranston's got it, Warwick, Avedisian leaves, all of a sudden they're in trouble. Well, for years, they were doing phenomenal. Mayor leaves, the new mayor, who was the council president, said, I knew nothing about it. Think about every city and town that's having the same problem. It's gonna come to a head statewide. And right now, the only hope I could say is either we can keep contributing, and where is the taxpayer gonna stop and say no? All right? At least with MERS, we'll receive a bill every year. It might be higher than what we're paying now, but it's a bill. We know that's the bill, we're gonna know what it is, you put it in the budget, and that's it. They don't have to worry as much. The employees, the young ladies and gentlemen who work for us now, who have 10, 15, 20 years, some even got 30 years to retire based upon their contract.
Right.
At least it might be there for them 30 years. I can't sit here and promise you 100% that it is.
No.
I'd be lying to you if I sat here, because I don't know. I can be gone next time. Two other members come in and say, I don't want to pay. Yeah, it's going to be a legal battle because we told, it was signed that we will continue paying the ARC. But the next person up there might want to battle and say, no, I'm done with this. Bankrupt the town, start fresh. And that's not good for the taxpayers or the employees.
No.
By no means.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my discussion is gonna be that we monitor legal expenses and, keep them at a minimum. Because,
One second, Jerry. What do you mean by monitor? I mean,
like, look at the items and stuff.
right, we have been looking at that, and we found errors and stuff, but I think it boils down to basically is attendance. If you look at one time where we didn't have a meeting, the bill was what, $370, if I remember correct, Tracy? That 1 month? It was,
Oh, September.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So, yeah, it can change, but I think it comes down to attendance and whether or not we need to have her at every
Yeah,
single
but
meeting.
Let's say, for instance, something on here drafted.
If you're gonna talk about specific things that are on the bill,
Okay.
sorry, I don't mean to cut you
Yeah,
off.
yeah, that's fine.
It's just, I would talk about it in an executive session because it's just, it's the attorney-client privilege of what I do for you to keep that as the client.
At the attendance, we can talk about. So it's just a matter of whether, do we have her keep coming at every one? Or do we have her not come, and if we have a question,
Well,
we either
you need-
email her
you
or
need to
wait till.
You need to manage the expenses, so you gotta find a way to curb that, so.
Well, right now, I think the best thing that we can do, without really making too much of a problem, is only have her come when we ask for, and then just pay for whatever emails or any questions or phone calls that might have to involve. I mean, there is some that there's no way of getting around. But the only thing I have said, and Helene said it again tonight, if there's something we're not sure about, say a meeting like tonight, and we say we're not sure how to handle it legally, then we have to table it. It sits there till next month.
We dragged it
Yeah.
on for months anyway. that
Right,
don't get
and-
it
I'd
done.
like to see us move on to the next item.
But we- Do we,
Talked about this MERS thing enough, I think.
then so do we keep doing that, or do we keep her here and keep the expense up, or would you table it until I don't think that's gonna happen at every meeting where we have to ask a question and get an answer the following meeting. We might be able to do meeting
We can
after.
try it, I mean.
Do you-
We're still gonna have an
Do you need a
executive session,
motion from me?
And she's still
If we
gonna
have
be
a
at-
quorum, yeah.
And she's still gonna be at the executive session, because that's the nature of the executive session, is to discuss legal issues.
Right, yeah.
Right?
So we would have that
So at the
meeting.
executive session, we can easily take a look at the agenda and understand which items might have to be tabled, because she's not gonna be at the public meeting. And based on whatever legal actions may be going on in the
That's-
town.
Okay.
Okay?
You
Even
were
for the
gonna,
executive
I-
session.
Sorry, Rob. I just wanted to point out, I don't think anyone is going to be surprised by my opinion on this, that as your attorney, I would recommend that you have an attorney available whenever and wherever you want an attorney available. Probably not surprising to anyone. However, the pension board is the client. I'm happy to do whatever the pension board decides. But I do want to make sure that you're aware that in the bid, it does require attendance at all scheduled meetings of the pension board. So certainly something that you guys can look into and adjust, but that is part of what's been requested of me as a person who bid on the contract to come here.
Right, but it's an at-will contract, and we can stop it at any time, correct?
Correct. But I just want you to be aware that that's in it.
So we have to give notice, right? We have to give notice that we're gonna end the at-will of the contract that's presently there, and we're gonna change the way that we're gonna handle it.
Yes.
Right.
Hmm?
Okay.
yes, Jerry.
Jerry Talia, 136 Burlingame. I just got a quick thing. I mentioned before, and I'm going to go back to Eddie Kelsey saying that you guys have an open checkbook. And I'll request it again, put a budget in your, not the council, but the pension board. And if you exceed that budget, now you have to go for more funding. Make a budget. Right now, you can vote on anything. The sky's the limit with no repercussions. You just sign away. So if you make a budget, a reasonable budget, it might be more acceptable. And then if you say, legal fees, 50,000 instead of 200,000, now we gotta cut back on certain things.
But different things happen different times throughout the year. All the variables are not the same, so you can't divide it by 12 and come up with a monthly fee, because there could be a lot of activity and a lot of things that need to be researched a particular month, and next month there's nothing. So why would you put a budget on that? I just think the fees need to be managed. That's what I think. Monitored a little
I say you
bit.
put a budget because you got an open checkbook. That's
I agree.
That's all. That's all. You have an open checkbook. And if you say, we're going to look at this, you can all look at it. And as the people rotate in and off the council, the pension board, things get forgotten all the time. That's all. Just a suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
Villa 15 Janet Drive. Again, nothing personal with the lawyer, I've said that before. You guys all have a thankless job to do up there, I get that. The problem is, just take this meeting for an example. We've been sitting here since 7 o'clock. It's now 9:11. She sat there for 2 hours, maybe corrected a couple of grammatical errors that were made up here at the podium, and that's it. And I gotta be honest, I haven't been at every meeting since 1993 like Kevin, but a lot of the meetings I come to, this is what it comes down to. We get historical lessons from guys like Kevin, we hear from the council president, who, by the way, kudos to the council for giving the money to the pension in this town, and kudos to the taxpayers, of which I'm one. Okay, so I get it on both ends, okay, as many of us do, all right? We need to control costs. You had another one on here, and I was gonna ask in a public comment, though, because I still don't know exactly what evaluation prep is that we pay $303 an hour to do. I was just the police chief, I don't really know what that is, but long and the short of it is, those are the kind of things that add up very quickly. And she's got an education. She deserves to get the money she gets paid. Okay, but the point is, if you're gonna sit here at $185 an hour, okay, and for 2 hours, listen to us bicker back and forth and disagree, that's money that's not being well spent. I'm sorry. You know, and, you know, we're getting the funding for the pensions. We have a lot of members in this pension fund. And there's a lot of unknowns still here. So it's all about, I know it seems nickels and dimes when we're talking a couple of thousand here, a couple of thousand there, but it comes down to the fact, we have a responsibility to manage all the money correctly, okay? And so if we sit here to bicker for 3 or 4 hours and she's getting her $185 an hour, we're paying a lot of money. This happens every meeting. It's not just this meeting. Okay, so I think we can work out something where if you guys have questions and you need to call her, that's fine. We don't have a problem with that. It's not like we're getting blazing fast, lightning answers at this point with a lot of the stuff we ask. So I'm a pretty reasonable guy. I mean, if you gotta wait 30 days to get me an answer, as long as I get an answer in 30 days, I'm happy. Okay? So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
All right, based on what Krista said about the contract where it says for every meeting, so right now she has to come.
No, she doesn't have to. She's at will. She doesn't
No, no,
have
no.
to come.
Can you read that again?
This is what she bid on. She doesn't have to come.
Right.
We can-
The services that are in the bid are attend all scheduled meetings of the pension board. And it goes on from there. That's just the
But
first
it's
sentence.
at will, so if you want to terminate her for next month.
That's what I'm asking
there's
you.
gotta
Right
be-
now, it states that she has to come, so we can't
So
say,
we terminate it, or whatever. On the next executive section, we make a motion to
When the
terminate the
contract
services.
expires.
And
there is,
It's-
there's no
she's-
contract,
she's
it's
at
at
will.
will.
She's at will.
So.
Oh, she shows at
Does
will.
it need a written does it need a written?
But
does it-
we
is it-
can't
Do we, are you
fire-
required to have a
fire
written?
at will.
I can't advise you as to that because it would be a conflict for me to say what you need to do to change my contract. That's why I wasn't
So
involved in
if
the
she's at
RFQ
will-
process. That's why I just wanted to bring it up
So
here.
she's at will, so that she gets paid for doing what she does. So if we don't have her at the next meeting, or we notify her within X amount of days per what's signed with her, then you notify her that when she's no longer required to come to the meetings, she's got notification on it. Just like we did notify the council, we were not gonna pay the bill for the Granicus. We notified them we weren't gonna pay it. They were made aware we weren't gonna pay it.
okay, then what do we do for the next meeting when we don't have a lawyer, and the meeting after that until we have a lawyer?
Well, I'm just saying, we have to,
I'm just
we have to
asking
put
a
it on
question.
for executive section and talk about it, and in the meantime, find out if we have to give a written notice that we want to negotiate and change the way, you know, that we're having her represent.
Yes, we do. We have to.
All right, so right now, we can't, there's really no voting or anything that gets talked about on the agenda here. We'll just have to basically table this then until the
Put it
next.
onto
I'd like-
the executive section, talk about how we
I'd like to
can
make that motion,
terminate
Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make the motion to table this matter for further, to discuss it at the executive session, our next executive session. We keep on going on and on and on.
I'm
but
gonna,
not-
second his motion that we discuss this at the next executive session.
second
Okay,
motion,
motions is made and seconded to discuss legal counsel expenses and attendance at the next executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Opposed? Motion carries.
the next item.
Okay, item O, discussion and action regarding RFP and RFQ for custodian. We did not have an executive session tonight, so we haven't talked about this, so there's really nothing we can do but other than table it till our next executive
Yeah.
session.
What's a custodian?
Actuary. the
Of the
bank.
No,
actuary?
the
Yeah.
bank.
No,
It's
it's-
The bank. So, the bank.
Not
The
the
bank.
apothecary. It's your bank, so it's Rockland.
Oh, the finance.
Yeah, not a-
bank.
Yeah,
Not-
the question
Not-
whether we can
Not a
do better for the
maintenance
fees.
man.
Right. That,
Custodians are bank.
that is something I would like to table to the next executive session, because by then, one of the things I'm gonna look at in the next month is whether these fees have been going up from year to year.
So we've talked about it,
You
yeah.
know, and, I mean, you know, some of these things, I'm suddenly, I don't remember, and maybe my memory's bad, but I don't remember last year paying for a consultant for Nyhart. And this year, we're paying 4-hour consultant fees or more on just about everything that they do for us. And I'm wondering why they need a consultant. So I want to take a look at last year's fees and
Just-
find out if they're doing
No,
something
just
else.
so, just to be clear, so that if you want to put it on the agenda,
next-
so you put what you want on. So Nyhart is the actuary.
Right,
Clearbrook is the investment advisor, and Rockland is the custodian.
right.
You want to
So
put that
all-
on Nyhart's fees?
We're going to look, yes. I mean,
I'll just write it down.
Nyhart's fees and Rockland's fees, all of the fees.
All the fees.
All the
Right.
fees.
And I wanted to discuss the fact of us having to house them to come here to do their presentation. We should not be paying for 2 people to come here in December as they come, get a hotel, flight, and all that. That is absolutely unnecessary.
All right, so can we have a motion then?
Yeah.
Sure.
Can I ask a question? Diane
Sure.
Kelsey again. I think I'm the one that brought it up at the last meeting about going out to bids for the various investments, your custodian. I was under the impression, now correct me if I'm wrong, that letters were going to be sent out just to the various banks, just to see what the fees would be or their appetite for coming in to, as an example, be our custodian. I thought that already happened, and I thought that's what we discussed at the last meeting. So obviously, it didn't. Couldn't we just at least start there and make this process a little bit quicker and send it out to half a dozen banks and see what the appetite is? Some banks may say, no, we're not interested. They can give you a schedule of fees. Every bank gives you that. You tell them how much money, is processed through the account. I'm sure Tracy has all that information. And I thought the letter should be quick because we've done that in the past, so she could use previous ones as a guide. Shouldn't we be doing that so we could get moving on this request?
That may be non-productive if we're going to go into MERS. I think a better thing is controlling the costs that we are presently
I
paying.
quite agree. I quite agree with you. Michelle, I couldn't agree more.
We don't know
But we don't know if
we're
we're,
going to go into.
exactly. We don't know if that's going to happen.
That
Right
could
now, we
take
have to,
years.
perform under the umbrella that we have. So at least for now, we're not giving them a contract. They're going to serve us at will. Send out those letters, see if there's appetite out there. Otherwise, this is all a waste of time. So you'll stay with Rockland as an example. So couldn't you just get that done before the next meeting, sending out the letters? At least you'll have some answers.
So that's called a request for information. It's not called a request for proposal. It's not called a request for quote. It's specifically called a
They're not-
request for
they're prob-
information. And you might get some.
You might get
interest in
some.
it, but you might not because it's only a
But you're not going to get an
$40 million.
information as far as cost, because they're not going to give you that. They may say if they were interested or not, but that's not going to help us, so we wasted the time. If we make up a request for a proposal or a request for quotes and put that out there.
Couldn't
and
we
put a
do
date
that?
and
We
everything-
have that info. Couldn't we
But
put
it's-
it out there? Couldn't you vote on that and say, let's put out the
Yeah,
request?
we haven't voted, but we're looking to do. Yes.
Okay, I understand you didn't have an executive meeting tonight, but
Yeah, and we
couldn't
had-
that happen anyway? I mean, you can vote on it right now and direct her to send those letters. We have the information. It's
You-
not something you have to discuss in an executive meeting. Thank you.
You want to do that? Or just get it drawn up and get
And-
it?
and
bring
I-
it-
an
That'll be
RFI or an
included
RFQ?
in the-
What's that?
A request for information or a request for quote? That's two different things.
How about a
Right.
fee schedule?
Well, that's what we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss all of that when we discuss the fees for from these various entities.
I think,
That's
in-
just a starting point.
See,
when we discuss
the
fees, and
difference-
then we may decide, well, this is too much, or then we can decide from there where to go.
I think along what he's saying, I was going to say, I think we should just go for quotes. Put out a list of what services
Set
you're
out
looking
a
for
request
each
for
of the
quote.
different ones.
So reissue the old RFQ again. In other words, we advertise for the old, with the old RFQ for 30 or 45 days, whatever the town does in,
The only
under
question
the
is,
state system.
you have to know what you want it for wording. Do you want it to be the same as the last one, or do you want the wording different?
Well, since I
What-
never saw the last one,
That's what I'm
I'd have
saying.
to look at the last one to
So
see.
we should,
Get the last one
We should look
All
at
right.
what was put out there to
Right.
see what they bid on and how they bid it, and see if whether or not that's advantageous to do it that way again, or
Yeah.
come up with something different.
Yeah, because it may have been very broad, so broad that you could probably get your driveway paved under it. Or, maybe it needs to be more specific.
Why don't we then do a motion in that, to have Tracy get copies of what we have for all three of them, so that we can bring it back at the next executive session, we can look at it, talk
Yeah,
about it,
right.
and then see if we want to change the language in it,
Right.
and if not, then draw up the proposals and get them sent out.
Right.
What if she mails it to us, emails it to us
Executive
during the
session.
month, and then we can decide, like, she emails
Yeah, but we
us
still
what
have
she
to,
has.
we still have to have them, at least an executive session to talk if we're going to change them or not. Yes, all three.
All three, right.
We had talked about Nyhard a little bit. We put off December's because they were going to be here. But now, if we're going to do them, we might as well do the other two.
Well, you guys gonna make the motion.
And I think we talked about Clearbrook,
That's one
also,
of them.
I'm sure.
Yeah, she's got that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we table item O to the executive meeting, and that Tracy provide us with the old RFPs or RFQs, whichever we used, for Nyhart, Clearbrook, and Rockland, so that we can review them at the next executive session.
Second motion.
Items, motion's been made and seconded to table item O till next executive session, and have the clerk look up at the existing RFPs or RFQs for the three, for the custodian, Nyhart, Nyhart, Rockland, and Clearbrook. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item P, public comment.
Just the one question I wanted to ask, what is the valuation prep that we paid $303 an hour for? He says the calculation, if you go by 32.10 hours, $9,730.
Yeah, that was that. Oh, the risk analysis, yeah. The risk analysis, which apparently we're required to do by law, so.
Yes, that's required by law. In fact, I had no idea which it was, and when Dave Lemoy was here, that's something we have to do.
Yeah.
It's required by law. Like
What is
he said, we don't have really any say in it, just something they have to do.
Or what is it, though? It's a risk analysis, as you're saying what it is, not evaluation prep. It says evaluation prep on the agenda.
Well, it says here, 7/1/2019, funding, evaluation, preparation, ASOP 51 risk analysis. I believe that's how they work out the analysis, the figures and so forth, what the risks are gonna be. I don't remember exactly. Dave knew it inside and out. He's not here anymore, to explain it. It's got to do with what our risk is, analysis, and it's just part of what they do.
But pretty much, with David gone, we really don't know what we paid $9,730 for. We don't know the exact details of what we paid that for.
We haven't
know
seen the
what it's
risk,
for.
we haven't seen the risk analysis, let me put it
Right.
that way,
Well,
so.
that's my point.
But it's something that's required by GASB, which is like the general
Oh, I
accounting
get that,
principles,
but
whatever.
Yeah.
we should know what exactly it is.
Okay.
But it's something required, so whether it's public knowledge or something that's required, it's still required. But point being, if you go to MERS, you'll save that, so.
Oh, I'm a big fan of MERS, don't get me wrong, but the long and the short of it is, we're still paying almost $10,000 for what's on the agenda as a valuation prep, which is now a risk analysis by this form you have, and we still don't know exactly what work NIHOT did to compile this, whatever it is.
Probably press 2 buttons, but it's something that's required. Again, we're paying them a lot of
Yeah, it could be a
fees.
risk analysis of, how many times they'll be able to play golf rather than do our numbers, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what.
Point being that-
Exactly,
Yeah.
it is.
The fees are high, but I mean, it's something that's
Well,
required.
are they though? We don't know if
Right.
they're really high. Is that going rate?
Well,
That's something we don't know, because
No,
we
we
don't really
don't.
know what we paid for. right
that's
now.
why we've been trying, we talked about for NIHAR to get, because I've had some questions with Tracy, because she's dealt with it a lot longer than I. It says, why is this, why is that? Sometimes they ask questions about things, they want to make sure before they start doing evaluations or do a risk thing, and so they lack for input. And then it seemed like we answer the questions, do research, answer the questions, and then they come back with something else we still got. I said, I thought we answered that. She said, yeah, so we have to do it again.
Well, like again, I'm not.
No, we've been
voting
questioning
against
them.
You guys, all I'm saying is we paid almost $10,000 for this, and I know David knew what it was all about, but we should know what it's all about.
Well, I can tell you, I'm going to read it for you, okay?
Okay, yeah.
All right, the actuary should identify risks that, in the actuary's professional judgment, may reasonably be anticipated to significantly affect the plan's future financial condition. Examples of risks include the following: investment risk, i.e. the potential that the investment returns will be different than expected. Hang on a minute, it's loading the next part of it.
Yeah, you don't have to.
So we're paying them to do their job. So again, we have to manage costs and.
Well,
And
I know,
assume
but that's,
This is required
it-
once per year.
it's, yeah, and that's unfortunate.
And-
Sometimes I
so
wonder
they-
why
they-
we're
they pretty
required to
much
do this.
manage our money all year,
Yeah,
but
when they
once a
get
year,
paid
we
for
gotta
this
pay them
report.
additional money to tell us what our investments are doing, which they should be able to do monthly, the month to month by what, and this is all the more reason we need to go to MERS.
Right.
Okay, this is all the more reason we need to go to MERS.
But
because
see,
This is something that we won't have to deal with
right, so this
anymore.
GASB is like General Accounting Standards Board, that's a requirement in M. So if they're doing a document that's required,
Right.
you're paying
Well,
a
it's
lot of money
basically
for it.
paramount to probably a capital needs assessment that's done in buildings and structures that once a year about, what we can expect to fail this year and things like that. But my point is, day to day, they're managing our money, and they're getting money for doing that.
Right.
And we gotta give them an extra kick of $303 an hour to do this once a year. So is that a going rate? Is that a good hourly rate? Probably something we should look into, because at $300 an hour, we can rack up a lot of fees.
That is
You
just,
look like a bargain compared to that.
Right?
Yeah, but the thing is, that's.
but see, that's just the tip of the iceberg. That fee was for November. In July, they had a funding fee required by IRS funding, and that cost us $3,660. Okay, so all,
Same report?
different report, but along the same lines.
Okay.
Okay, so, yes, it does add up, and we've talked about it more than once, and I'm just looking over the past, because I thought I remember seeing that somewhere.
But again, the fees are too high, so we need to find something
Right, so they're
better.
getting X amount of dollars to manage our money on a yearly basis, plus they're kicking us with all these other things.
Required.
NIHOT's not managing the money, they're the actuary.
Right.
Okay,
Clearbrook manages the
okay,
money.
so they're just doing the report.
Yes.
No.
Okay, and the other
And the
guys are coming here-
calculation, they do all the
They're coming here
calculations.
in December and giving us our,
That's Clearbrook.
okay.
Oh, no, sorry.
No, that was
That's
NIHOT.
That's
That's
NIHOT.
Okay.
December
They
was
give you the
NIHOT,
report
the one
of
we're
the
talking
fund
about right now.
Right, they do all the calculations, how the fund's
Okay.
going, what's happening, whatever. The actual
Yeah.
investing is Clearbrook.
Clearbrook.
Okay,
Clearbrook.
all right, so, and those are the guys we're paying their hotel rooms and everything.
Yeah,
Come
so
out
we
here and
could
tell
get
us
rid
how
of
our investments
we-
are
All
going.
of
No.
these fees.
That's
Clearbrook
NIHOT
is,
too.
it's,
So we could get rid of all the fees.
I never heard of that.
All right, that's fine, thank you for the
It should be
information.
pleased.
you know,
Is that so we're paying the hotel rooms and is that, I never heard of that.
yeah, when they come and give a report,
Oh,
we
we-
gotta pay for it, yes.
Oh, we gotta pay for that.
Sorry, one more question.
That's
Yes.
okay.
Redraft.
Redraft.
Where are we in the process? How much longer is it gonna take and how much more money?
A lot of good questions, and I can only answer one, and I don't have an exact answer. We haven't had meetings because we put dates out and we wasn't able to get a quorum any of the dates. The other issue is that's happened several times. So now what's happened is we've had several contracts that have been renewed and done. So the language on them has changed. So what has been said and done to put these documents all into one place, is which is somebody decided to do because of all the headaches we find when a question pops up and, well, we look over here, but doesn't answer, we gotta go to here, we gotta go 3 or 4 places. So whoever started this, and I don't know who that was, but somewhere on the board, said that we're gonna put it in one document, so when we have to answer, whether it's Tracy, any one of us, or legal, they can go to one place and it shows there, and as a new contract comes, that it can be plugged in and fit.
Could your attorney give us an estimate? Because
Well,
as of
we have to go back now and go over some of the work was done, because there's several contracts have been done over, so all that language has changed.
Some of them were done for a few months now, so those should have
Right.
been incorporated already?
We haven't had a
We
meeting.
haven't had,
I have,
You haven't gotten them?
I have contracts. I had not been instructed to,
We haven't had a meeting.
I'm a little
Yes.
concerned because as of the January 7th, this year,
Mhm.
at council meeting, our illustrious president mentioned that they have not gotten their hands on the document yet. And this was a
Right.
document that was supposed to be a little less than $20,000. It's almost $50,000 at this point. Talk about cost
I know.
overrun, that's a big one. So.
While you're on
I
it-
just, you know, want to get an estimate of when. Will it be this year? I mean, are we anticipating this year?
It's been suggested to me that we no longer spend any more money on it and let it go back to the council, let them deal with the headaches, because it's not the board's problem. Unfortunately, that's not gonna solve it, it's just gonna make it worse, for the simple fact that
But it's a
when
pension
we,
document.
when we have, yes and no. If we have a question on something and we can't get an answer because we don't know where to look in that, we end up eating it anyway, because we have to either pay her or somebody to do the research. So in the long run, I think it's cheaper, but I didn't start the system. We're almost really hooked to it, so we gotta spend it,
This board. And
finish it.
granted, you all really, I know it's a thankless job, and I appreciate all that you all do. It's not easy, I grant it. And you're taking on, projects that was started way before any of you were here. So that is a big project, and it's going on for years. I mean, I think as other questions come up, we're all getting antsy with the number of years it's taking and the cost. I mean, we're more than double what we anticipated it to be, so.
The other issue is when we do have a meeting, which they're getting spread out farther and farther, we can't get in more than an hour or two for people to stay. So to try and start going through items and looking at it and figure out, well, what's this and that, make sure that's right, and we don't make any mistakes, which we're finding out we have made a few mistakes, so we gotta go back. In an hour or two, there's not enough time.
Who's working on it right now, your attorney? Is Kristen working on it? or
She's,
no?
no, nobody's,
You have not directed her to work on it at this point?
we could, but without input on some things, that becomes an issue. So then it would come back to us, so it's better that we all sit together and work it out.
But I know you had some scheduled meetings recently, over the last few months, specifically for that purpose. Did that not happen?
We
It
put,
didn't
Tracy
happen.
put the dates out, sent them out, and no, we couldn't get a quorum.
They were scheduled, but they didn't happen.
But we're only doing an hour or two, and you can't get much done in that.
You
You
can't-
need
You need more than enough.
3 to 4 hours, and that's been hard to get some people to attend, so we don't have the quorum.
I think
You get 2
perhaps
people
maybe-
say they will show up, with 2 other don't respond or say I can't, so we can't actually get a meeting date, and that's been a problem.
Yeah, we'll be going forward.
Oh, it doesn't bother anybody more than me, because I inherited it, for lack of a better term, and I like to put it to bed. I don't agree with the idea of getting rid of it, of course, stop doing it, do anymore. That's not responsible for us, because we just spent a lot of money and we've got nothing to show for it. So at this point,
Absolutely.
we're on the hook, so I think we should finish it, but the more we wait, the more it's gonna cost, because now it
Right.
changes. So I'm aware of that.
was my question,
Yeah.
I mean, where are we going with this? Is it gonna reach 6 figures? I mean, it's
Oh.
a concern. It's a big concern. I mean, how much more do we spend on it?
well, actually,
That's-
the answer to that is, every time every 3 years when the contract changes, you're going to have to put all of those contract changes into the pension
Well-
plan. So you're going to continually keep this up.
Well, I don't agree with that.
Who are you going to give
We're
it to
doing
do that?
something that it makes the board's job or Tracy's, or whoever's in those positions, a little bit easier when there's a question come up, when somebody doesn't know what to do. Or somebody has a question, how do we handle this with certain thing? All right, so that document will make it easy for everybody. Once that thing changes, we really didn't have to do this, it was just to simplify some problems. I don't think we should be doing that. That sets a bad example. Once that's done, contracts are done, whether it's the council or someone else, they should be updating that document, because correct me if I'm wrong, but this is gonna go to the council whenever it gets done, and if they vote on it and there, that becomes an ordinance to make it correct. So at that point, if there's any changes, I think those changes should be done by the council, my own opinion. But he can come up and stamp on me and tell me I'm wrong.
I'm not, let's not bringing it up now.
Please give us a good answer.
No, I want to point out, again, I just want to clarify, I want to say it's almost been about 2 years since we've seen, maybe a year and a half, that the council and the previous council, not the new council, has seen the redraft. There are members of the new council who have not seen copies of that redraft. When it was sent to the council, and it was previous to you, it was sent to us saying what we would like to see changed or whatever. Every council member responded either via, mostly email, and they only replied back to the pension board because they couldn't reply all because of the fact that they would have a rolling quorum going.
Right.
Then the council met here to discuss it and what our changes. We had an open meeting, discuss our changes, put it in writing, and send it back to the pension board. The only concern I have, and I just talking in the back, is I know we just went through new contracts for 2 unions, and we're working on a third contract now. We're already 25% through those contracts. So you might take another year and a half, and we'll be back into negotiating.
Don't say that, because I'm
just pointing that out.
I know.
I know the redraft is this thick and a lot of pages. It's not something you can throw on a council on a Monday night and say, here, approve this on a Tuesday. We're gonna need a good month to go over all that. Just like you guys,
Right.
girls, are gonna need a good month to go over everything, because some of it's new to you. So, again, the only thing I'm asking as a council person is, don't throw it on us and expect it back in a week. It's not gonna happen.
Yep.
I know, and again, I didn't know exactly when it was initiated, who it was initiated by. I was just educated in the crowd myself. 2015, 14, 15 is when it was initiated by that pension board. Now, the pension board initiated it.
Yep.
The pension board should finish it.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other public comment?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
I thought someone was going to
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
That's yours, right?
Well, it's good to hear that we're getting close.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yes.